Why, hello, everybody. It's Wes, Hank, and Andy. Here we are on our regular Sunday night time slot. Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of the Fan Batch. It's our little show here that we like to do on a weekly basis. Tonight, we are reviewing the 2-episode drop of this week's editions of Star Wars: The Bad Batch.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, if you've been watching our show, you know what this is about.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
There's something else tonight.
What?
Did you realize that this video is our 300th video on the channel?
Oh, geez, no way. I did not.
It is.
I did not.
Wow.
That's awesome. That is supremely awesome.
I was looking at that the other day. I was like, oh, we're at $2.99. You know what that means on Sunday.
Holy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. 300.
Yep.
That's I never, I don't. I do and I don't. I kind of kick myself because I say I don't care about the numbers, but then I'll find myself obsessing over them sometimes, and I'll like stare at them and like, why are things happening the way they do?
That's a lot of Spartans.
Yeah,
it is.
So
that's like an impressive.
That's
milestone.
It's Thermopylae. We're good.
I am blown away, to be honest, that when we started doing this as a straight up audio thing, I never envisioned a day that we would be here, 300 videos in, and still going strong with no end in sight, by the way.
Is that everything ported over, or did that
is everything?
Yeah, everything did get ported over.
Everything. Yeah. I think there's one video, I think that is.
But including our audio only stuff, it goes well beyond. We've got to be around.
Yeah. We're definitely
around
over 300 shows.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, our standalone, we do have like a dozen or so standalone short videos. Now, granted, some of those are small bits, small bits of the longer shows, because we know like not this like long form is not for everybody.
No.
Us long,
but hey, we still keep doing it. Oh, Sarah, thank you very much. Congratulations on happy 300th episode anniversary, guys. Oh, thank you very much. It's going to be a long one tonight.
It is.
Yeah. So,
but before we get into it, should we?
We probably should
continue with tradition.
Of course, it's time for one of those
bad Star Wars jokes.
Doug, go long.
No,
yes.
Yeah, no choice.
Question for you.
Answer.
What does Admiral Akbar take when he's tired?
Oh.
It's got to be something to do with it's a trap, and I don't know how.
Or an energy bar, some kind of like. It's a snack.
No, when he's tired, it's a nap.
Nice. I was all around it.
That was so good.
That is actually
it's a nap. Double drop tonight, so we will be back with another bad Star Wars joke partway through tonight's show as we get to episode 2. Now, Andy, you're going to take us through our first episode tonight.
I'm going to try to, yeah.
I am very much looking forward to tonight's discussion. We've been pretty quiet in our group chat this week. Mind you, the technical stuff that I needed to chat with you about. So we are. I won't say we're coming at this cold. We've all three of us have watched the episodes at least once.
Oh yeah,
a couple of times for the ones that we had to review. There is lots of fan chatter this week.
There is,
and
speculation.
I can't help but want to talk about some of that stuff. So let's get to it.
All right. So this week's episode, or our first episode this week, is episode 10, Identity Crisis. It originally aired Wednesday, April 20, or Wednesday, April 20. We're not there yet.
What?
In the future.
In the future, yes. Wednesday, April 3rd on 2024, alongside episode 11. And I'm just going to switch that there.
Oh, there we go.
That's better.
That looks better.
That's better. It's got a listed runtime of 25 minutes, but actually comes in around 21:50 without the titles and credits. It is directed this week by Saul Ruiz and written by Amanda Rose Munoz, Frog Mom.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
This week's episodes, yours still falls in that average length, a little on the short side.
A little bit.
A little bit on the
And
short
it's also
side.
the first episode to not feature any member of the batch.
Oh my dear.
It's told completely.
At all.
Very
Yes,
well.
at all.
Right.
So,
That's right.
Yeah.
I actually forgot about that, but yeah.
I mean, there's one minor cameo, but as far as actually
Sure. Yeah. No, you're
Yeah.
right. You're right.
But the synopsis this week reads, Emery confronts the dark secrets behind Hemlock's scientific research. And really, we find out just how dark it is. We open this week on a wide shot of one of the cities nestled amongst the snowy mountains on the planet Karad. And we zoom into street level to the downtown market where we find various folks going about their business, including a Biff, a Pantoran, and an Aqualish, among others.
You know that guy is going to be trouble.
Oh, you know what, though? I'm happy they changed his sleeve colors to white this week.
Yeah, I mean, is it the same animation model? I don't
It
think
might
it is.
well
The
be.
head looks a little different.
Yeah, but he's still sporting the orange vest and the blue pants.
As soon as I saw him in the market, I'm like, is this our guy? Is this action figure guy?
It might be. He's been slightly tweaked.
This is a beautiful looking city, by the
It
way.
is
Oh, it's
like
wicked.
all misty in the mountains. And
I know we've been to like mountain locations before and certainly snow covered planets before, but this one, gosh, it's got a different look
it's
to it
got
altogether.
almost like a, what's the word? Like a hidden city in the mountains type vibe.
Shangri-La.
yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah. But we find a Tarlafar mother, Eilish, and her young son, Bayron, heading towards one of the vendors with flowers.
Oh, nice. The Tarlafar.
Yes,
Tarlafar. Do you have the stuff on that?
we do.
Okay, perfect.
Eilish sets Bayron, down on a crate with his Tarlafar doll, and then sets to looking over vendors from the flower section. But this is the second appearance of the hamster-like Tarlafar species.
Mhm.
They originally appeared in Solo, a Star Wars movie.
What is it with Star Wars species having dolls of themselves?
I don't know, but we're
Is
going
it
to come
like-
back to that later, too.
I suppose it's like us playing with action figures,
Well,
right?
if
I was
you
just
go
going
back
to say,
Season 1, Omega had a clone doll, right?
That's true. Yeah, and then Jin and her stormtrooper doll, which is a strange choice.
And then, what was his name? The disgraced Imperial guy. He had a bunch of action figures on.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Which we think were the Mayfex
could be.
clones.
That's right.
Yeah. Cyril Karn.
Yes,
we're
that's it.
we're
yeah.
probably some of the first generation of people to play with figures that weren't based on the species that we were,
Yeah, really.
with monsters and things.
Yep. But like any child, Bayron begins to toss his little doll into the air before he throws it too high and it lands near some other flower vases. Of course, with his mother distracted, the child hops down and removes himself from his seat and wanders over to retrieve the doll. But next door, the vendor is haggling with an Aqualish trying to get the best price when out of nowhere, one of the flower vases comes flying between them and then smashes into the ground. The Aqualish spins around, demanding to know who threw the vase, but an Arconan points out that it was the child, Bayron, who threw it. The Aqualish doubts this and cites that the kid could barely lift it, let alone throw it. But the Arconan insists it was him, as they saw him.
I saw it.
Yep. By now, the commotion has turned Eilish's attention back to the direction of her son, and she rushes over and scoops up the child, apologizing to the vendor, then hurrying away. And she's like, so sorry, so sorry.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what they're going for there, but the Arconan tells his companion that he told her that kid was strange, and people say he's cursed or gifted. But the companion shushes him, telling him not to talk of things like that because of the trouble it can bring. And with that, they hurry away too,
These are troubling times
Yeah.
indeed.
past the Aqualish. The Aqualish, though, narrows his eyes and watches as Eilish and Bayron enter their second floor apartment before he slinks off towards the staircase to the apartment balcony. The Aqualish enters the darkened apartment next door, right next door to the mother and child, and he enters, crosses the room, and inserts a key card into a panel on the wall, pressing a button, and on the panel it beeps. And he tells whoever is listening that he has a tip for a Class 1 bounty hunter.
It's funny that they had to actually say that to us,
Yeah.
to like
That-
get that point across.
That was kind of irksome to me, like, but it's funny that my wife's been saying a lot of the of this is like it has a children's overtone, so there's like a lot of over explaining actually done. Like a lot of times exactly.
Yeah, Sarah's got it.
Yeah.
Never trust an Aqualish.
There is a lot of like, I'm doing this right now, and I think it's so that it bridges that. I know exactly they're using a spanner to fix that hydro, whatever, and we understand that, but I think it helps bridge the gap.
We already know, they've already established, they told us that, like, I could see if this is the first episode of the Bad Batch you've watched the entire season, okay.
Yeah.
But they already told us that certain Class 1 bounty hunters are already going after these M count targets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we needed to be told that, although it's.
Well, we did speculate on just who would qualify as a class.
We did.
In this episode, we get
deliver.
Answer.
They deliver on that.
Yeah. But our Aqualish, she continues that there's a kid here that they might be interested in, and then our screen cuts to black. We open again on a shot of Mount Tantus, and inside the mountain base, we find Dr. Hemlock inside an elevated pod structure with 5 cryopods. He stands in front of one with the door open, and he is bathed in red light and mist. The camera angle flips and looks down on him from the occupant's point of view, but we're not privy to exactly who or what is in this chamber.
Do we think that this is another section of the vault?
I would believe so.
I'm inclined to think that.
Yeah.
Actually kind of shocked at how many different vaults they kind of reveal in this episode. It's like we've seen the big one with Zello Beast.
Yes.
And all the Sith runes, but here we are in another one.
I'm glad that we got that look on the inside. I was kind of hoping that we'd get more of that, and I was hoping it would be sooner than later.
Yeah.
Like, don't leave it till the very end when everything is revealed. Like, give me a little bit now. That keeps me interested.
Yeah.
This definitely delivered on that.
Yeah.
It's like a Russian doll room of, of pods.
The nesting doll of vault rooms. Yeah.
Yeah. But the pod door closes and Hemlock looks to his data pad, and on it is a readout of what appears to be a humanoid figure in armor. The Orabesh here reads status, so it's monitoring whoever's in that chamber. And he takes the elevator to the exit below, where he's met with Dr. Emery Carr and Clone Commander Scorch. Hemlock asks what the issue is, and Dr. Carr informs him that progress in the lab has stalled since Nalisay's confinement. Hemlock notes that the Kaminoan can no longer be trusted, but Emery asks if he trusts her. She continues that she spent years working by his side, and with the proper clearance, she could be of more useful. Hemlock asks if she wishes to be the new chief scientist, and Emery responds that she believes she's earned it, and Hemlock concedes and tells her, very well, let's bring you up to speed on Project Necromancer. And the 3 exit the chamber.
Did anybody else pause on this and go, what the heck is that?
Yeah. I thought for a moment it was going to be the Clone X Trooper, but looking closer at a shot later on.
We do get a better look at that.
You do get a better look.
I saw this. I immediately stopped, got out of my chair, walked across the room to the 75-inch television and went, My initial thought, and it's very loose, but I'm like, that looks like Dirge's armor. The bounty hunter Dirge, the tentacle guy that...
At least his helmet, for sure.
Well, this is what I thought.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that can't be.
I'm just inclined to think it's like a phase 2 CX trooper.
I'm with you on that. 100% that this is the next phase of whatever the CX troopers are, will become. We're going to come back to that later on.
Maybe this one will be Tech 2.
Sure. Yeah. Tech 2.0.
There you go. But Hemlock leads Emery into what the descriptive audio calls an anti-chamber, where he tells her that in addition to the assets in the sub-level containment chamber, she will be given access to the subjects in the vault. So this is now our third containment site we've been given access to, or shown. But in addition to at least 8 clone commandos on the floor level, Two more monitor from a windowed chamber above the vault entrance. Hemlock keys in his code and opens the door to reveal another corridor with those multiple laser grids emitting that red glow. He enters and Emery follows behind him and the doors slide shut behind them both.
It's almost a shot for shot reuse of the last time they walked through here.
Yeah.
And that's the one we've seen before, right? Where
Yeah, going through
Is it
the,
though?
Nala
the
saying
ray
him go through.
Yeah, through the ray shielding.
Are we
Yeah,
sure
and
it's the same
and the
one?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And the two
'Cause it
guards
wouldn't-
even
It
step
wouldn't
back
shock
from-
me if there was like a couple rooms like this.
That are ray shielded and yeah, like you wonder, like there's you see these rows of commandos. Like it wouldn't surprise me if there are doors on each wall, and this is a central hub.
Mm-hmm. But we didn't get anything in like the concept art this week to
No, nothing to
elaborate.
sort of like peel the veil back on that one.
But as they follow the corridor around the corner, Hemlock tells Emery that the specimens within are now her responsibility. We find more clone commandos standing guard at yet another door, and as they pass through, Hemlock tells her that these specimens are vital to the project and must be handled with the utmost care.
Yeah, I found that surprising that you've walked through a room with a dozen guards that's overseen by a handful more. You've walked through all of the ray shielding, and then you get to another antechamber with even more guards. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what is going on here?
Yeah, like who are you hiding?
Yeah.
But through the door, Emery is taken aback at the sight of the circular, brightly lit room. The windows ring the chamber near the ceiling, and multiple scientists monitor from their high vantage point. And several young children sit alone at round tables in the middle of the room. As Emery walks further into the room, we see a medical droid and another scientist making observations on the three children.
Getting Arkina vibes.
A little bit.
A little bit of Narkina 5 going on here. Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
parallel, eh?
Big time.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Two of the children, a green-skinned Morellian and a red-skinned Iktachi girl,
Hitachi. Yeah.
look up from their tables and glance at the visitors.
She's the same species as Jedi Master Stacey Teen.
We will get to that
Oh,
too.
okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Ah, no worries.
Green giant.
But Hemlock informs Emery that these three particular were selected because of their high M count. And when Emery asks, why children? Are there not adults that could serve this purpose? Hemlock plainly tells her that there are few adults left with such characteristics, which is a pretty cold way of saying we killed the majority.
Yeah, that's a on the nose statement, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm.
Like clearly she doesn't know what's happened beyond the borders of this place. Like she has no
Yeah, I guess not.
idea of like the Jedi slaughter or Order 66 or
It begs the question though, like how sheltered has she really been?
I think very.
You know, she was taken from Camino at a presumably at a young age in her development. Has she been here in this facility the whole time?
I think so.
Man.
And we're going to get to a point later where I think it confirms it.
Okay.
But the Iktachi girl moves from her table to a room as Emery and Hemlock approach. She sits in a room, and as the scientist and medical droid take a blood sample, Hemlock continues that children are easier to attain and more agreeable to subjugations. They're unaware of why they're here and what they possess. As she knows, M count cannot be directly replicated from the source. However, Nala Se found another way, which is why she aided in Omega's escape. The unclone's blood is the only binder that's proven to be compatible with their DNA to recreate their M count levels, and why Omega must be found. All the while, the medical droid has drawn the blood sample and with a scomp link accessed a hidden panel in the wall where it deposits the blood in a sample transfer tray. Blood sample in a transfer tray. There we go.
Yeah.
Stepping on my words.
It's interesting to know that Omega, for him to say it's the only blood that's been proven to do that.
Yeah.
It's a bigger statement to say it's the only blood. But you have to ask, is that the absolute truth? Is hers the only blood? And is she actually part of the somehow Palpatine return? Do they get that blood?
It's the Omega effect. That's what I call it.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Because we don't know how many clones they've kidnapped and tortured and tested.
No.
Because you got to assume every clone that comes through that door gets a shot.
It's
has a sample
funny.
taken.
You know, I'd be interested to know, and maybe we'll find out in another project if there is more to the whole thing. We know that Grogu is involved, obviously, and clearly Omega is a huge part of this.
Yeah.
My God, I hope this does not spell a dismal ending for her.
Well, it's like we speculated before, like the Kaminoans talked openly, at least amongst each other, about a
Mhm.
contingency plan in case
Mhm.
the Empire went awry. And
Yeah.
I've long thought that Omega was that contingency plan, which is
We may see that,
finding
sort of come to
a force
fruition.
sensitive clone, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Hemlock continues that testing should proceed as planned, and it should, as they must be prepared for every possibility once Omega is recovered. Just then, Scorch enters the room and beckons Hemlock, who strides over, leaving Emery alone. As she turns, the red-skinned girl has emerged from her room and offers Emery a most pleasant hello. And Emery returns the greeting, and the young girl tells her she likes her glasses. Emery thanks the child and then asks what her name is. But Hemlock overhears the exchange and turns and tells her, Dr. Carr, limit your personal interactions with the specimens.
That's very specific, isn't it?
How cold.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Clearly, he has no children.
No.
Well, actually, he's got 3, but
Don't name the chickens.
yeah.
But the young girl hangs her head and walks back to the table, and Hemlock continues that they're scientific assets, nothing more. Such a cold perspective, but clearly it demonstrates Hemlock's lack of empathy and morals. Emery agrees to Hemlock's statement, then circles the room as Hemlock turns to leave. At the same time, the green-skinned Mirialan boy, I got that right?
Mirialan.
Mirialan.
It's a mouthful
It is.
for sure.
But he
Sprout.
scowls at
Sprout.
Looks like Enzo from Reboot.
He does look like Enzo, doesn't he?
but he scowls and watches closely as Hemlock inputs his code into the data pad at the main door. Scorch and the doctor leave, and the door slides shut behind them.
He's observant, though. That's for
He
sure.
is. He's formulating. Back on Karad, nighttime has fallen over the city, and the streetlights twinkle in the darkness. Inside their apartment, the Tarlafar mother, Ailish, plays with her son Baron, who giggles away as she tickles him with the doll. She gives Baron a snack, but a noise outside the door catches her attention, and she looks and spies a shadow move past the door. Alarmed, she picks up Baron and moves him to the couch, and she moves towards the door, then looks back at Baron with a worried expression. We hear footsteps, and then the shadow stops outside the door. So Eilish arms herself with a shovel, but the door flies open, and a shadowy figure of Cad Bane shoots without hesitation.
Did we get the spurs jingling at the door, ka-ching, ka-ching, when he walked up?
I didn't hear it. I heard footsteps, though.
Man, you knew it was going to be. I was sitting there thinking, is the guy just going to knock on the door? Give me your kid.
Give me the kid. Lauren was curious. I thought it might have been out of character for him to not have just outright killed the mother. Why did he stun her?
Yeah, because it's totally set to stun, and she just drops.
I
to the
didn't
floor.
really
That is
think about it,
true.
but Lauren had said that's kind of out of character for him to be merciful in any fashion. I guess maybe it's not mercy. Now she gets to wake up and feel the pain of not having her child.
Yeah.
I guess
Maybe
I'd have to go back and
sadistic.
rewatch his episodes. I mean,
Yeah, 'cause
did he do a lot of killing?
I mean, a fair amount. I mean, he doesn't there's no real disregard for it's a job. So
Yeah, no, you're right on that. It's
It's,
strange that he didn't.
it's like lifting the toilet seat up or putting it down. It's the same amount of energy to take your blaster
no,
off
you're right.
stun as
Yeah,
to put it
yeah,
on
yeah.
stun.
Oh, for sure it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I wonder why he didn't. I guess maybe is that the Disneyfication then of the show?
yeah,
I
you're
mean-
about to kidnap a baby. May as well not kill the mother like they did Bambi.
Well,
maybe she could be part of our cavalry too.
Maybe
Oh, maybe.
if the kid's force sensitive, is she
Well, I mean, Ahsoka's parents weren't.
true?
So I mean, it's
Fair enough.
skips a generation, I guess,
All right.
or several.
Bane, he enters the apartment and eyes the child, who looks up in fear. And Bane holsters his blasters and calls Toto 360, who glides in. He hands the droid a sample rod to retrieve the blood sample, and he glides over, and Bane, he recoils. But the droid persists and jabs the child in the hand, retrieving the sample. He then removes the vial from the sample rod and flies back over to Bane. There he hands the sample to Bane, who inserts it into a handheld device. And where the hell was this device last episode for Asajj Ventress?
Yeah, really. Portable midichlorian scanner.
Yeah.
Class 1 bounty hunters
There you
only.
go. Yeah, really.
moment later, an indicator button on the device flashes green, confirming the child has an elevated M count. And Bane notes, "That'll do," before Toto activates a hover pram by remote. It's more box-like than what we've seen before or used in The Mandalorian for Grogu,
Yeah.
but it's the same design elements, and this is no doubt like an earlier model of the same device.
You could ask me this week in our group chat if I
Mm.
thought that these devices were purpose built for this. And the more I think about it, the more I think that is the case, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, we never did see, like in the case of Grogu, it has become sort of his conveyance, but originally that's what he was being held in. And it was the Mandalorian that opened it, not Grogu.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder if these devices have similar properties. Remember in at the end of the Clone Wars, the Mandalorian Jedi containment box that they took Maul away in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if this leans into that a little bit, that it's force suppressing it somehow.
I don't know if it's force suppressing, but maybe like sleep inducing,
That would be possible too.
because he has a good long nap here. So
That is true.
Hmm.
That is true. Was Grogu sleeping in his when they opened it, or was he awake already?
I believe he was sleeping.
Yeah, so there's a common line there, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. But the front slides open and Toto scoops up Baron and stuffs him into the pod. But in the process, Baron has dropped his doll, causing him to cry out in dismay. Bane growls, "Be quiet," at the child. And Toto, he responds that, "I'm not a nanny droid." But Bane just glares at the droid. Toto begins tapping the pram, telling the child, "You there, stop that," before noticing the toy on the couch. Picking it up and handing it to Baron seems to do the trick as he calms down. Toto puts his hands on his hips and says, "Oh, I did it." And then Bane tells the droid, "Let's move," before they both stride out the door. Such a attitude-filled little droid. But Toto activates the remote on the pram and it begins to glide. And as the front cover closes, Baron catches one last glance of his unconscious mother lying on the floor before he is left in darkness. As they walk down the balcony without missing a step, Cad Bane throws a handful of credits at the Aqualish neighbor who has been standing hidden in his doorway. And Bane thanks him for the tip and then disappears into the night, leaving the Aqualish kneeling and picking up golden credits in the light from his apartment. And like, just, take them.
Yeah.
Thanks for the tip.
Yeah.
It's like throwing a handful of pennies at the guy.
At the same time, he actually paid him.
Yeah,
I mean, he could have just taken the child, saved the money, and
true.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
He's got some twisted morality. I mean, like
I guess
he's got that.
this guy's
lawful
informed once,
evil
maybe he'll do
element.
it again.
Yeah.
It's like that illustrates the level of disrespect that he has for,
What's interesting, and I didn't. So I'm only thinking about this now. In the episode where Omega was playing cards and she won the 20,000, we saw a sizable number of credits. How do we equate that to what he's just tossing here?
Could be a couple hundred.
Is what I mean. And how much is the Empire paying for one?
Oh yeah, way more. This
for
is like
one kid.
Well, we see
Oh,
the
yeah.
case later on, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
he's
we're not
tipping.
giving them
He's
now.
just tipping this guy for information. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, go get a pack of smokes. There you go.
But eagle-eyed viewers this week may have spotted some extra toys lying around Ailish's apartment.
yeah,
In addition to the Tarlafar doll, Baron also has a stuffed Gran and a Tals.
I missed the grand, but I did see the towels.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and this is confirmed by this week's databank entries. So,
that's cool.
nice.
yeah, he's got quite the collection going, or he does.
See that?
We switch back over to Wayland and Mount Tantus in the vault, and Dr. Emery Carr approaches the room of the red-skinned Ikachi girl with the medical droid in tow to collect another sample, and the little girl gives her a cheerful "hello" again. Emery answers with her own "hello, SP-54," but she quickly corrects her that her name is Eva, and then inquires what the doctor's name is. And she tells the young girl that she can refer to her as Dr. Carr. Eva then asks what happened to Nala Se, as she hasn't been back. But Emery tells her that Nala Se is no longer overseeing the project, and when Eva asks why not, Emery tells her that it's not of her concern. Eva quietly says, "Oh," and breaks your heart at this moment because she says, "But she
Wow.
said she'd find out for me." And Emery asks, "Find out what?" And Eva innocently replies, "When I'll be going home. Can you find out for me?" And she tells her she'll look into it, and Eva thanks her as Emery exits the room.
You try to put it in context, and it's the big bad evil empire, but then it's kids.
Yep.
And then she says that I just want to go home. And you're just, I mean, if you didn't crack, if you didn't have an emotional reaction in response to that, then are you even human?
Yep.
Do you have a heart? Oh my God.
Will you find out for me?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Oh. But Emery enters the adjacent room with where we find the greenskin Merlan boy. Merlan. I'll get it one day. She greets him as SP32 as she reads her data pad. He does not respond, but looks past Dr. Carr and the droid to the door on the opposite side of the room. And believing this is his opportunity, he snatches Emery's data pad and sprints out of the room. And as he rounds the room, the scientists watching from above take note and trigger an alarm, causing the room lighting to go red.
You didn't get very far.
No, he didn't.
I thought he was going to get the floor, honestly. Yeah. I really did. Looked like the open grating there and stuff.
Everybody get the rubber boots on.
Yep. As the alarm sounds, the boy slips the data pad into the slot and enters Hemlock's code, but to no avail, and the door doesn't budge. He pounds on the window as Emery approaches from behind and tries to calm the boy. He tells her to stay away and pleads to be let out, and she calls to him, SP32, but he tells her, that's not my name. And he just tells her, they said I could go home. I just want to go home. And before she can respond, the door slides open and Scorch enters the room, blaster drawn, telling his two accompanying troops to set the stun.
He could have got the floor, or he could have got the... You know what I mean? Like,
True.
Face full of blaster.
Yep.
Wonder if that's on stun.
But the troopers surround the boy, and Scorch demands to know what the situation is. Emery tells them that blasters are not necessary, as everything is under control, and Eva looks on with concern. The boy looks past the troopers and weighs his options and makes a break for it. Emery cries out, don't! But Scorch fires his blaster, stunning the boy, who drops to the floor.
Aha.
It is
on stun. Yeah.
Emery rushes and kneels beside the child, and Scorch orders the two commandos to return the boy to his room, and they drag him back. And Emery tells Scorch that their actions were extreme, as he's only a child. But Scorch corrects her, calling him a specimen who tried to escape, and he was following protocol. The clones then depart.
No different than a lurker, eh?
Yep. Later, a medical droid scans the boy, and then another enters the room and draws a blood sample. Emery watches from the doorway, and she feels a tug and finds Eva, who asks, is Jax going to be okay? And Emery questions, Jax? And Eva points to the boy. Emery tells Eva that he will be fine. And then Eva coyly asks if he's going to be in trouble, to which Dr. Carr tells her, no, he's not in trouble. She tells the girl that she can see Jax tomorrow, and with a smile and a nod, Eva runs off to one of the round tables. Before we go further, though, now that we know two of the three children's names,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
let's pause a moment here and dial in. Eva, the redskin girl, is a member of the Akachi species. We've seen them before, and as best I can tell, they first appeared with Jedi Master Saci Tin
Stacey Teen, yeah.
in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, back in 1999.
He died violently at the controls of a starfighter
Yeah.
as he was blasted.
Yup. Jax, the greenskin boy, is a member of the Muralon species, and we've seen them before as well. They first appeared in the James Luceno novel Cloak of Deception in May of 2001, before making their big screen debut with Jedi Master Luminara Unduli in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones in 2002.
We're going to see another one again.
Barrisoffy.
Which is her Padawan learner, by the
yeah.
way. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But our third, as of yet unnamed child, is a blue-skinned Pantoran girl. And Pantorans first appeared with George Lucas's cameo in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. But they would first be identified as Pantoran in Season 1 of the Clone Wars, Episode 15, titled Trespass.
Right. George Lucas and his daughter Katie both cameoed. They're both standing on the stairs talking to each other.
Papa.
Old Papa Noida, yeah.
As Eva sits, the third child, a blue-skinned Pantoran girl, looks over her shoulder towards Emery, and Emery notices her glance, and she quickly looks away. Emery then returns her attention to the unconscious boy. We cut to later to find Dr. Carr entering the cell block, where she goes to the cell of Nala Se. And a commando opens the cell door and Emery enters. She opens the conversation stating that she had questions about the Kaminoan's work on Project Necromancer. And Nalase questions that Emery has taken her place then. And Emery answers yes. Nalase asks that Emery has been to the vault and seen the specimens. Emery answers back that they're children, like she was. And with a tone of disgust, she asks if the plan was to discard them too.
Just want to say, last week we talked about who was having an identity crisis,
Yep.
and nailed it.
Yep.
Where's the bite? You got it? You got it there?
Oh, wait.
Nailed it.
Or should I?
Yeah.
Maybe it's this one.
Nailed it.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a
There we
goodie.
go. Yep.
Nalase replies that the Empire intends to keep them in order to control them. And Emery states that they don't belong here. And Nalase agrees, but counters that none of this was her choice, and she had to protect Omega. Emery asks, but what about the other children? And Nalase says she did what she could, but now it falls to Emery. And she questions what Dr. Carr will do. But sadly, she says there's nothing she can do, as she doesn't have that power. But Nalase counters, don't you? Emery turns to leave.
So does this suggest to you guys that Emery was taken against her will?
I believe so, yeah. Taken
Wow.
as a child.
Isn't that a different spin on it? Like
Omega is the last number in the right, suggesting that.
yeah.
So was this her? Is Emery force sensitive?
Maybe.
Like
That's a great question.
an
That's a
earlier
great
version of Omega, literally, right? Like,
You think that they would have taken samples of her blood as well because she is a clone? Now we didn't see that happen,
no, that's true.
but that doesn't mean that.
But
it
you also
didn't.
assume like all these active clones, are they experimenting on all the
all the regs that they've got.
and the regs, the Republic Commandos? Like,
Well, that's a great question too. Like,
are they thinking like because they'd be
don't
you
know.
know you're trying to get that match no matter who it is, and then boom, you're in
Yeah.
that program, I guess.
yeah, so maybe they've all been tested at least once, maybe.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if the bonding agent works, are all the CXs that?
Mm.
I don't think so. I really don't, because CX1, the guy that we saw that bit down on the tooth
Yeah.
guy, he clearly looked like a reg. I don't think there was anything particularly special about him.
No. But I mean, had he been maybe because they do say we've got it to be stable after
Yeah, that's right.
after
that's
that
right.
guy. So
Yeah.
But when you go back and you hear when he was talking about how they tested Crosshair,
Yeah.
like, oh, we tested him multiple times and always came back.
Yeah. So
So
there's something to
they
be said
tested
for-
Omega daily,
That's right. Yeah.
But
So
only
it's-
one sample got through.
and she was
That is
like
true.
on team. I would think that they're testing everybody daily. Like
Every clone, yeah.
I think it's just
I'd have to imagine that Emery is a part of that on some level, then, that her blood has been tested as well.
it would make sense.
I would
but
think.
she could be scrubbing her own stuff, like Nalase was scrubbing Omegas too. So
True.
I get the impression, though, just from like her characterization in this episode, that up until now, these kids were involved, that she was 100% in.
yeah,
she was in on everything.
I agree.
I mean, she just a few frames ago, she was showing, the what I would call the typical Imperial who's vying for position and power, when she's like, I want to be the chief scientist. I've
that's
earned
true.
it.
I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah. So
Then she's like, oh, you're doing this?
yeah, this is a new development.
Yeah. As she exits the cell block, Dr. Carr studies her data pad, lost in thought. Various droids go about their tasks, and Emery crosses paths with Dr. Hemlock and Scorch. Hemlock beckons her over and relays that a new specimen will be arriving today, and Commander Scorch is departing shortly to retrieve it. And she asks, another? But Hemlock notes that he heard about the incident earlier, so he understands her hesitation. However, this latest acquisition will not pose any danger to her. And she tells Hemlock that she would like to accompany the commander, but Hemlock tells her it's not necessary. But she counters that Hemlock himself stated the importance of these specimens, and she wishes to ensure that they are properly maintained at every stage.
I don't want to see another kid get blasted.
Yeah. Just then, a stormtrooper approaches and informs Hemlock that Governor Tarkin wants him to make contact at once. And with this, Hemlock concedes to Emery, telling her do as she wishes. And all parties depart. Emery follows Scorch out. We cut to inside Hemlock's office, and he takes a seat at his desk and activates a holo transmission of Governor Tarkin. And he greets the governor, then asks to what he owes this summons. And Tarkin relays that questions have been raised regarding the financial impact of Hemlock's facility and the impact it's having on the Imperial resources.
I'm not going to lie. This might be my favorite part of the episode is this interaction right here because it says so much about what we were just talking about. This whole
Jockeying for
yes,
position and power.
absolutely.
Yes.
They're playing this weird game of chess with each other. And when you know how close Tarkin is to the Emperor, I'm shocked that he doesn't know that the Emperor was here and gave Hemlock whatever you want. Yeah. It blows me away.
Yeah. He then questions that now additional funds have been diverted at Hemlock's request. And Hemlock confirms, citing that it's for a project to which is of great personal interest to the Emperor. And Tarkin asks what it is, but Hemlock slyly tells him it's classified.
How many people can say it to Tarkin?
Right?
That's classified.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Tarkin suggests that he might be able to offer some assistance, seeing as it's such importance. But Hemlock tells him that the funding is all he requires and assures Tarkin that it is worth the expenditure.
This is a really good setup for Tarkin in the sense that, they've made him the money man.
Yeah.
So it adds more weight to that scene in Rogue One where he takes the project away from Krennic. So now it's instead of just being the idea man who's controlling the funds for it, now I've done this, not you.
Yeah. But now in
cool
a
scene.
sterner tone, Tarkin tells him, you better hope so. Because if this doesn't produce positive results, it would not bode well for his operation or Hemlock himself.
Wow.
And then Tarkin cuts the transmission, leaving Hemlock to ponder.
As the Emperor has personally been here and given him this authority, I'm pretty sure the Emperor would take a personal interest in making sure that
nothing interferes.
Yeah.
But
this could be a time though where he's still
somewhat in the dark,
drinking the Kool-Aid. No, like fully, like I'm the leader of the military.
Tarkin. Yeah.
Right. Like I'm, that guy, he's a politician. Sure. He's the leader of the empire, but I'm the, I don't know what the equivalent would be. I'm Patton on the field.
I mean, there's
and
also
it also goes to show, like, sorry, not to step on you, but
not of course.
That the Sith activity is being kept separate from the military activity.
Yeah.
Like he's like Vader is subordinate to Tarkin at this point, right? Or at least
that is true
on some level. Like,
does Tarkin know about the Inquisitors? And
that's probably
that's an interesting question.
It's probably public knowledge inside the ranks because they operate fairly openly.
Yeah.
Like people are afraid of them. Like, like they went to Tatooine and people knew that those were Inquisitors, right?
I know that
Hemlock's on the rim.
Hemlock is a new character, but we only see one of those characters post Clone War period.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Yeah.
But like, really, Tarkin probably didn't even know that the Emperor visited here, right?
I agree with that. Absolutely.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
No.
But Hemlock looks at the readout on his desk, scanning the biometrics of two humanoids in full body armor. And these are no doubt the same ones that he was inspecting earlier in the episode in the cryo chamber.
Oh, absolutely. It's the same.
Yeah,
this
is
essentially the same schematic. Much larger too.
Larger and clearer.
Does that thing on the right-hand side look like some sort of, like, I see a weapon there. I don't know what it is.
Well, it looks
like the forked end of Mando's Ambin pulse rifle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
maybe.
what I was thinking too. But,
Ultraman looking helmet there.
Ultraman.
But he taps another button and a holo transmission pops up with one of the Clone X troopers, and Hemlock demands an update. The clone informs him that he tracked down the Trandoshan and dragged some intel out of her. And there's zero doubt he's referring to Sid here.
Oh, yeah.
And apparently Sid gave up the name of a pirate, who we know is Fee, who's been in contact with the target, and he's searching for her now. Hemlock tells him that the other operatives are ready to join him in the field, but the clone tells him he can handle it on his own. But Hemlock quips, "Can you really? Because you've already failed once. No more mistakes. Do not return without Omega."
So, presumably CX3, 4, 5, however many there are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would think as many pods as we saw, right?
Yeah.
Or at, the very least, like squads and squads of troopers ready to go wherever he says.
I think
go.
operative though, it tells me that it's these clandestine fellows here. I don't think of conventional troops when you say operative.
Can we talk for a second about them being mislabeled in that article I had read during the week? I talked about it in the chat where they were mislabeled
Yeah, sure.
inside the article as Phase 0 Dark Troopers.
Oh, that's a bizarre.
It's a stretch, isn't it?
So yeah, and I
feel
mean
like it is, yeah.
a complete stretch if you ask me. If anything, I'm sure that these are the progeny of the Death Trooper. But
Hold on to that thought. We're gonna get there.
so when I looked at that though, right, and I looked up what a Phase 0 Trooper was. Apparently, they're canon, designed for the old video games, though. Cybernetic clones that, as they graduated to the Phase 4, or 3, or 4, or whatever we saw in Mando, complete
Those
droid.
are phase
3
2.
or
Well,
2.
they're 2. The phase 1s, we saw them already in season 1.
Yeah, those
batch.
they're white,
Tech
right?
was riding one around and rewired. They were all droid.
Yeah,
He hotwired one.
that's true.
Those are direct pulls from Legends material. So
I just thought it was interesting, even though it wasn't an error on the part of the author of the article, that the thing about them was that they would take clones and limb them and remove their organs and replace them a la Vader with cybernetics to enhance them. And we did have that heat signature with no legs on that one CX that we saw, and I thought that's
so
very
true.
interesting.
Yeah.
But that could be like a design coming straight from the Emperor himself. Like, oh look, it worked with my Sith Lord. Let's do it with the troopers.
Look what they did to Grievous.
Yeah,
that guy was
he
all
like
but
a couple organs.
Yeah, a brain and a bag of some eyes and a bag of organs.
yeah.
In a droid body, right? I don't think that there's a relation to the Dark Trooper program in these, to be honest. I think this is something else. And I'm more inclined to with you, Hank, that somehow, and we've been saying it, since last season, if not season 1.
Even season 1, as soon as Crosshair put on that dark armor, I was like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, Dark Trooper. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Back here again, the clone nods and the transmission ends, leaving Hemlock once again bringing that gloved left hand.
What's under the glove?
I know, right?
It's a shriveled up grape under there. That's what it is.
It's Quado.
Mystery glove box.
Yeah, really. Not you again, JJ. Not again.
In space, an Imperial research transport drops out of hyperspace on approach to the Imperial Orbital Space Station, which orbits Coruscant. And once docked, Emery follows Scorch, flanked by a squad of troopers, and they enter a large hangar and approach Cad Bane's ship, the Justifier. Bane leans in the open hatch, chewing his toothpick before sauntering down the ramp. And at the sight of Emery, he notes that she's not the usual Imperial that they send, but she counters that she's there to inspect the specimen, and who she is of no concern of Bane's. And with that, Bane calls for Toto to bring out the kid.
It's cool that we, it's obviously Coruscant right from the get-go, but it's like, the last time we were over Coruscant and in any capacity was the opening shots of Revenge of the Sith for the battle. Don't recall seeing any space stations there. No. That's pretty cool.
And the data bank, there is concept art literally calling it the Imperial Orbital Space Station.
That's very cool.
It is fully labeled.
That's very cool. I quite like that. And it's the same ship that we saw picking up the Zillow Beast.
And it's like half a Death Star, right?
Oh, yeah.
Cloud City kind of vibe going on.
It does. Yeah. I mean, similar design aesthetics. We talked about that last week too, how, there's only so many ways you could present a space station. True. You either lean into like heavy duty reality and everything's like wireframe and tubes, or you have sci-fi. It looks like a starbase.
Yeah.
Pardon the Star Trek reference.
But Toto uses the remote to guide the pram down the ramp, opening the front for inspection. And Emery's jaw drops at the sight of the baby, and Bane inquires, "Problem?" Emery says that the specimen is younger than she expected, but Scorch interjects that he'll be less trouble. And with that, Emery moves to test the child for confirmation. She kneels beside the pod and draws a sample. And with the device similar to the one Bane used, Bane inquires about his payment, and Scorch beckons one of the troopers with him to open the sealed case that he's got. Toto glides over to inspect it, and Emery asks how many others like this Bane has captured, and he returns, let's just say I'm good at my job. And then the device confirms the child's elevated M count as Bayron stirs. Emery asks where the child came from, but Bane tells her asking questions like that gives away more than you think. So
It's not his first time,
No.
it's not his first rodeo, literally, when it comes
No.
to collecting force sensitive or
No,
force
not at
using
all.
children.
I'm not even that, just reading people too, right?
That as well.
Like, oh, you're asking me that? That means you have more concern than
Oh yeah,
standard
yeah.
Imperial that looks at this as just a specimen. Like, oh, where did it come from? What does it matter? Right?
Don't think I'm going to add him to the list of the cavalry.
No.
Just want to throw that out
Unless
there.
they pay him.
Well, there is that possibility, and we know that it wasn't just the Empire that used bounty hunters during the war.
Maybe Sid puts up the money, feels guilty.
I don't know about Sid. I'm upset with her right now. I'll get to that when we get to my episode.
All right.
He might even be on the other side, part of the, I always had Boba Fett fight alongside the stormtroopers when I was a kid anyway.
That's true. Yeah. Well, that goes right back to the original concept for Boba Fett when he was
he
the
was the
super
trooper.
super commando.
Yeah,
That's why the original prototype was white.
Yeah.
Got that
Yeah.
somewhere here.
Toto takes the crates of credits aboard the ship, confirming it's all there. And Bane tips his hat and bids them till next time and turns and boards his ship. Scorch hits a button on the pram and the front closes again. And Bayron's last image being that of Emery and the clone. Back on Tantus, we see the Imperial Research Shuttle docked, and it gives us a great scale for the ship itself. Because, like, we've seen it on with the Zillow Beast and everything, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen it flying up to the space station, but we didn't really get a sense of scale. But if we know that TIE fighters are sitting down there docked,
Well, that's true. That is
this is a
yeah.
very large vessel.
Yeah, it's big.
Yeah,
It's like bulk freighter-y big, like
yeah,
whatever that thing that Han and Chewie was flying in
yeah.
Force Awakens. Yeah. Big.
But inside the vault, Emery watches as the medical droid retrieves a blood sample from the sleeping new arrival, and the droid deposits the sample in a recessed tray in the wall.
Who's now in his prison coveralls.
Yep. The droid, and Emery asks how Bayron, has acclimated. And the droid replies that the specimen is in good health, and she studies his vitals on her datapad before exiting the room. Crossing the vault behind the medical droid, she notices Jax's room empty and asks where SP-32 is. And the droid relays that it is standard operating procedure for the subject to be isolated for 2 rotations as punishment following an escape attempt. They then moved on to Eva's room, and she presents her hand to the droid, which extracts the daily sample. Once complete, she hangs her head and looks away from Emery. And as the droid glides out, Emery turns to Eva asking, is everything okay, SP-54? And the girl refuses to look up at her, and Emery calls her by her name, Eva? And another heartbreaking response, she tells Emery, you lied. You said Jax wouldn't be in trouble. He just wanted to go home. We all want to go home.
Don't cry. Don't cry. Don't cry.
Yep.
I'm crying.
But Emery doesn't respond. She just exits Eva's room and slides her datapad into the slot. And she keys in a command and the lights turn off. The Orabesh on the screen here reads Central Light Control.
Nice to know they took the time with this one.
Yeah, but they didn't put it all on all datapads. There's
No.
only like a couple instances this episode. But
I'm gonna complain about the language this week because I've got some stuff.
that should have been
Yeah.
that
there was
should have been a freebie.
There was stuff that they just missed opportunity is what I'm gonna call it.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
But in addition to turning the lights off, metal grates slide down over each of the children's rooms, locking them in. And with that, Emery exits the vault. Later on in the medical lab, Emery inserts another blood sample in the centrifuge for testing. And as she waits, she sits and looks over a readout of Eva on her datapad. She swipes past Jax and ends up stopping on Omega. And she pauses for a moment before standing, setting down the datapad and opening a nearby drawer. Inside, we see Omega's old lunch kit. And Emery takes it out and opens it, revealing Omega's handmade Tuca doll. She picks it up and studies it for a moment. Then we cut to the next morning, and the medical droid enters the vault, and the lights come on, and the room grates go up as well. Eva stirs and sits up in her bed, and she looks to her doorway and spies the Tuca doll sitting there on the floor. She rushes over and looks both ways before picking up the doll. She turns back into her room and hugs the doll to her chest. And above in an observation deck, we watch and we see Emery as she's watching the scene below unfold. She gives the faintest of smiles, and we cut to black.
It makes me wonder Emery's motivation for keeping that stuff. Was it, Omega will be back and, maybe she'll want this back? Or
Maybe.
why did she keep it? Why didn't she just throw it away?
I think it's just like she's coming full circle now, right?
Yeah,
It's probably a connection to her own childhood.
that as well.
That's what the gateway to her opening up is. Like, Omega wasn't enough. Like, she knows that Crosshair is a clone, so do whatever you want to her. I'm
Yeah.
a clone, do whatever you want to me. So her moral quandary isn't the dozens of blood samples from the hundreds of clones daily. that they must take.
No.
Her moral quandary only kicks in when it's like suddenly children.
Having your
It's
childhood
just like
So
stolen.
other people's
that's
kids.
her trauma, if you will. So it's now it's coming up, it's bubbling to the surface. Her
Yeah.
So she even says it to Nala Say, do you plan on throwing them away?
Right.
Like implying that she felt like she was thrown away by Nala Say when the Empire took her. So
Mhm.
Yeah. Just before we move on to our next half here, our cast of characters have a couple new additions this week, as well as some old favorites like Corey Burton, Seth Green, and Stephen Stanton as Cad Bane, Toto 360, and Governor Tarkin, respectively. Voicing Ailish, Bayron, and the Nanny Droid this week is actress Shelby Young. She's no stranger to the franchise, though, having voiced Eunice Eno in Young Jedi Adventures, Princess Leia in Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga.
okay.
Additional voices on Star Wars Jedi Survivor and C1D1 in Ahsoka.
She's been Leia a lot. We talked
Yeah.
about her before in another episode. I remember that.
Yeah. In total, she's got 97 credits to her name
Yeah,
so
yeah.
far.
Good for her.
Cool.
But, then we also have newcomer Alwyn M. Whalen in the role of Eva this week. This is her first role.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah. And our other Force-sensitive child this week, Jax, is played by Yvonne Sintinin.
Sinitson?
Yes.
Sinitson.
Yes. This is his third role, and he's got two more on the way currently in post-production.
Do we know what they are project-wise? Not another Star Wars project?
Not Star Wars, no.
Okay, well, good for him. Good for all of them.
Yeah. And with that, I'd turn it over to you, Wes, for
What?
episode 11.
Oh my gosh, episode 11 already. Any more on this one before we move on?
All together.
Yeah.
Best episode ever.
It's
pretty good.
Super excited.
pretty
about
good.
it. I am.
I'm a lot.
Look, Mando connection.
I'm pretty back. Like, I was
You are reinvested.
salty was the word, I guess, last week.
Yes,
I
you were.
am. I do with it. It comes with a caveat, which I will talk about at the end of this.
Sure.
Because
Okay, that's fair.
otherwise, though, all I've ever wanted was for them to move the friggin' story forward, and
Yeah.
so we're getting that now. So I'm
I'm
not
okay
gonna
with
complain through that.
I'm okay with the way this happened, and I feel like doing a double drop this week makes sense in the sense that these two episodes. I don't want to say that this episode was filler because it's not.
No, but it fills in a whole lot of story.
Sure does.
No, there's a huge arc. Carr is a major player. It's the reason my argument at the end of this episode actually falls apart when I think about it.
I have to, in light of, and this doesn't have a whole lot to do with the Bad Batch, but some of the other big Star Wars news this week was that Tales of the Empire trailer. Just knowing how the dates are lining up, I'm wondering if all of these compressed weeks, triple drop for the premiere, 2 double drops, and then another double drop for the end. Was this all so they could get Tales of the Empire just for Star Wars Day?
You probably watch that after it's made and go, what the actual F? And go, okay, let's, first of all, we're changing the name of this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And,
well, listen, anybody who needs a quick pee break, now is the time to do it. I'm going to roll the video opener for the next episode, and we'll get right at it. So now's your chance. Run for it. right. Hello again. It's us. It's still us. Still us. Not us again. It's still us.
We're not clones.
Yeah.
No.
We're going to keep things rocking and rolling. We're going to push right on through. But I would like to give you another dose of
Bad Star Wars jokes.
It's going to be hard to top that last one.
okay. Well, hey guys. What's the worst part about eating a Wookiee steak?
Oh. I know they're probably chewy.
They can be a little chewy.
Oh, did I get it? I got it.
You
got
did.
it.
Didn't know.
You got it.
Here, I got one more for you.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Fur in your mouth.
What does Admiral Akbar order instead of coffee?
Oh.
Crack. It's a crack. No, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. No, I don't know. I really don't know.
Oh.
It's a frap.
Nice.
That's a
Nice.
frappuccino. Nice. That keeps on giving. By the
It
way.
does.
That one does. Yeah.
All right. If you're just joining us now, it's this week's episode of the Fan Batch, our little show here. We're just about to start season 3, episode 11, Point of No Return. I'm going to run us through this one, and let's just keep that thing rolling.
I did
All right.
not think this one would play out as it did.
You did not?
I did not.
Neither did I.
was shocked by the end.
Me too. I'm actually in a place now where I genuinely don't know. Like, we had a pretty good idea that the Empire was going to show up at Pabu this week.
Mm.
I mean, they've been
Spoiler,
darkening the island,
it
right?
happened. Yeah,
This is
happens.
It's the Empire Strikes Back episode.
Of the Empire Strikes Back of the Bad Batch. That's
dark middle
another
act.
missed opportunity, but it's a minor qualm. I'll get to it. All right. This one is Point of No Return. The original air date was this past Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. This one also written by Amanda Rose Munoz, directed by Nate Villanueva. Our runtime is 24 minutes advertised, or an actual 20 minutes and 44 seconds, which makes this the shortest episode of the season thus far.
Didn't
Also
feel like
seemed
it.
to be the fastest episode.
Pacing wise, yeah, it was.
It was fast, but it didn't feel fast, right?
That is true. Our episode synopsis for this episode reads: The Empire closes in on the Batch. And yes, they do. All right. Our episode opens in space over a barren moon orbiting a red gas giant. A dragonfly-shaped ship drops into frame and descends towards an outpost nestled inside an enormous crater. Although the episode does not indicate where this is, it reminds me an awful lot of the moon that we saw orbiting Ryloth, or even Polis Massa, which we actually just talked about a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah.
Or
Or the moon in Andor, where they
that is also true.
they stop off to
I always try to sort of tie this stuff together when it comes to asset reuse and how it's done and how it's used. That happens again this week. There is some asset reuse, which I'll bring up when we get to it. But I have to wonder if this is a reuse of stuff we've already seen. If it is, they've cut it in such a way that it looks fresh. So I'm okay with that. All right. The outpost consists of several interlinked structures, many of which are clearly docking bays. The overhead doors of one of the bays slides open and the ship slows to a hover before settling down inside. As the ship settles, a service droid exits an office and it walks out to meet the wayward traveler. The Aurebesh over the door reads Depot Manager, so this droid must be of some importance to the facility. From the long tail of the ship, a boarding ramp drops and Fee Genoa strides out in all of her Liberator of Ancient Wonder glory. She heads underneath the ship and activates a suction tube, much like the one we saw on the Sandcrawler in A New Hope. Activating the controls, her power droid companion Mel 221 drops out onto the docking bay floor. Now, they must have just come from some kind of expedition, because Fee scolds Mel, telling him, the next time I give you an order to scour through the green goo, you scour through the green goo. The droid, clearly not happy with the scolding, beeps and chirps back at her. But Fee's tone softens just a little and tells Mel that even if its circuits melted, she'd repair him just like she did on Andro Prime and Skara Null. Now, I did my due diligence. I looked this up. There is no reference for the planet Andro Prime.
no.
And that makes me wonder if this is a line flub. Now we believe this has happened before, where an actor has flubbed their line and they've used it anyway. And the reason I say that is because there is an endoprime.
Oh.
So if it's not a flub, it's a new world that we've never heard of before. If it is, and it is in fact endoprime, well, then let's just cover that. Now, endoprime, it's an ice world. It is the third planet in the Lambda system, and it is home to the Telid species. Sometime after the Clone Wars, the planet experienced a population surge due to the establishment of several mining operations. Also the home of several pod racing courses controlled by the Desiligic Hutt clan. That's Jabba's clan.
Mhm.
Endoprime was first seen in the 1999 Episode 1 Racer video game. We also get a glimpse of it in Attack of the Clones as one of the monitors in the Outlander Club was showing a pod race on Endoprime when Obi-Wan and Anakin chased, what's her name in there?
Really?
Claudite. Wow, bounty hunter girl. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes, the-
Whoa! Why
Yeah,
is that?
wow.
Works with
Go
Jango
on.
Fett.
Shape changer. Yeah, yeah. Oh
Oh.
my gosh.
Oh.
Wow, I feel like I'm totally failing as a fan right now.
I'm staring at the action figure. I got nothing.
Yeah, it'll come to me. Somebody correct me,
There's
please.
too many characters.
I
in
should
Star
have wrote
Wars.
her name
Wake
down.
up in the middle of the night screaming it.
I should have wrote her name down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me now. Oh wait, wrong person. Okay. And as for the other name drop in that, Scaranal, that's the planet we went to last season where Fee and the rest of the batch uncovered the Zepho super weapon.
And Mel got blowed up.
Yeah, yeah, he did. He did. Right. And that's why she said she would just repair him.
Yeah.
Now,
Zam Wessel.
Sam Wessel.
Oh,
Thank
yes.
you, Hank. Thank you. Thanks to this week's episode guide, specifically the concept art. This is why I tell you, if you're going to look at this stuff, go all the way and look at everything.
There's good stuff in
The
there.
concept art, and this is for the lighting for the depot, tells us that Fee's ship is named the Providence, which I think is a cool name for a pirate ship or for a liberator of antiquities. The Providence. I like that. All right, there we go. Well, from the shadows, CX2 watches as Fee talks to the droid manager, Ollie. She tells the droid to fill up her ship, and then she and Mel head to the office. And with its back turned, Ollie grabs the fuel line while CX2 scrambles from hiding and up the boarding ramp into Fee's ship. The door of the office slides open and loud electronic music blares out, and both Fee and Mel enter the room. Meanwhile, CX2 has made his way to the cockpit of Fee's ship and inserts a data rod into the scomp jack on the ship's forward console. Now, an alarm blares, and the clone assassin begins to work feverishly to stop it. While outside the ship, the alarm catches Ollie off guard, and it disconnects the fuel line, thinking that the two are somehow related. Ollie looks back at the office to see if Fee has even noticed, but she hasn't heard a thing over the loud music. CX2 slides some kind of chip into a card slot on the console, and the alarm slows and then fades until it actually shuts down completely. Now, outside, Ollie just shakes his head and then reconnects the fuel line. Now, looking at the viewport, CX2 watches the droid begin the fueling process and then turns his attention back to the console as a line of data begins to scroll across the screen. Then Fee and Mel exit the office and head back towards the ship.
Kind of a neat thing that the droid is sitting there jamming out.
Oh, yeah.
Waiting for
I could picture L337 doing that.
Yes.
You know, that's just kind of her thing, right?
Chopper too.
Well, the data stream continues to scroll for a second before it's all collected. Then CX2 pulls the data rod from the console and rushes out of the cockpit. Fee reloads Mel into the ship, calling him grouchy when he's not fully charged. And as the suction tube drops down over the power droid, Fee tells him to go power up and relax. And I couldn't help but think that this was like a reference to the Snickers.
Go have a
You're not
Snickers.
yourself. Go have it. Yeah, have a
Yeah.
Snickers. As the suction tube retracts, CX2 makes his way onto the boarding ramp. Well, something catches Fee's attention, and her eyes narrow as she looks toward the ramp. But then Ollie is there requesting payment. Now, Fee steps out from under the ship, and she offers the droid some credits, telling it to keep the change. But her tone is still suspicious, and she's focused on the ramp. Ollie offers her a cheerful, "See you next time." Ollie, by the way, that is Anakin Skywalker himself, Matt Lanter.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's a cool little detail. Well, then instead of walking around the ship to the boarding ramp, Fee actually crouches low. She draws her vibro sword and then stalks toward the ramp. While stepping out from under it, there's no one there. But the uneasy feeling doesn't go away, and she turns, gazing around the docking bay before boarding the ship. All the while, CX2 watches from behind some machinery in a darkened corner. Thought that was
Again,
kinda cool.
there's no security cameras in anybody's ship. People just come and go as they please.
No, but Fennec, she can hear everything they're saying in the back with the door shut.
Right.
Don't put a camera in there, just put an audio device in there.
Presumably, if she'd been anywhere not with music blaring, she would have heard that alarm, though.
I would have thought so, and that would have, if one thing about Star Wars we've seen is how particular independent ship captains are, how particular they are when it comes to their ships.
Yeah.
So for sure, you'd be like, "Hey, what the hell's going on?"
And at the very least, you figure he's a not top-notch droid. Like, oh yeah, I set off an alarm, but it went away.
Well, there is that, right?
But
Is it? Did I do this? Can I somehow like putting the fuel line up?
wasn't me.
Oh, okay, I guess it's fine now. Keep going.
Yep.
Excuse me. All right, we cut to the exterior of the outpost where Fee's ship lifts off and it heads back in the direction that it came from. While a moment later, the CX Dagger lifts off from the very next bay and it heads off in the opposite direction. Well, inside the cockpit, CX2 inserts the data rod into a scomp jack beside his seat and begins to decode the data that he's just stolen from Fee. On the console, a series of several coordinates appear before a few of them flash red, narrowing down the list. Now, the screen changes to a planetary display before CX2 swivels his seat and activates a holocom. Now, there are 14 sets of coordinates, which are an alphanumeric combo of gibberish. I went through, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of them before I said, I'm not doing this anymore. This is just not working. I even went so far as to find a canon star map, which, by the way, there are several galaxy maps that use an alphanumeric coding system, but it's limited. Each grid square is limited to just a single letter and digit. So even if you just use the first number and the first letter of each combination to narrow down the grid square, it would be impossible to narrow down what planet they're talking about. And to be honest, I don't think that actually the two are correlated. I just thought, again, this is a missed opportunity that if you were going to do that, if you're not going to spell out the names of the planets for me, you could have given me real coordinates on an existing map, and you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
You've never been to Kajinkt?
That's right. Yeah.
I think if one of the ones that had flashed had said Pabu.
Yeah, that'd have been cool.
Yeah.
That'd have been cool. And of course, Pabu wouldn't even exist on a map right now. I'm sure it does somewhere, in the story group. I'm sure Pablo Hidalgo has the answer to that.
Yeah.
Number 4 is almost Wyoming.
That's right. All right. A life-sized image of Commander Scorch appears, and CX1 tells him that the Trandoshan's intel paid off. Now, as you said, Andy, that has to be Sid.
Yeah.
Now, did he say that he convinced her?
He said he pulled
pulled it out of her.
Pulled it out of her.
So I assume some sort of torture took place.
Because I had to double.
It's not credits, that's for sure.
I thought about it for a second. I'm like, did this happen under duress, or did she just give them up? Because she did give them up to the Empire. So what's giving them up one more time?
Yeah.
She gave up Fee. She didn't give them up.
Fee. Well, then I can still be angry at her, and it doesn't change anything.
No, because she gave them basically their last known associate.
Yeah. Anyway, Sid is all but dead to me now anyway, so he can go away. CX2 relates how he infiltrated her ship and downloaded the Navicomputer. He says that Fee had tried to cover her tracks, but he broke the encryption. When Scorch asks him what he learned, CX2 says that she frequented an Outer Rim world that he's now headed to for recon. Scorch orders CX2 to send him the coordinates, adding that he'll have an entire division on standby if he gets a visual on the target. Then the holo image fades out and CX2 swivels back to the ship's controls and studies the planetary image on the console for a moment before taking the ship into hyperspace. It's just before sunset on Pabu. It's overcast, but the clouds glow with hues of pink and purple. The Bad Batch loads several crates onto the Havoc Marauder, which now rests at the docks instead of at the landing area next to the colonnade. Or on the colonnade, I should say. Wrecker complains, "That's gotta be all of it, right?" But Hunter tells him they still need to get rations, and he orders Wrecker to finish loading the ship while he and Crosshair go to get food. Wrecker slumps his shoulders as he groans, "Fine, but at least bring me back an ice cone. No, make it two." Then, picking up another crate, he walks up the boarding ramp while Gonky honks at him. Honk, honk, honk. In the market square, Shep walks about greeting people as he goes. Two young boys are getting ice cones from a vendor. Then Miss Gaia kneels down and offers Batcher some meat on a stick before scratching her chin. Now, if you didn't notice right away, the two boys are two of the three clones that were rescued by the Bad Batch earlier in the season in the episode Paths Unknown. In this case, it's Deke and Mox. And the episode guide tells us that this new look is a reflection of their new peaceful lives here on Pabu.
Nice.
So it sounds like they have, or at least I'm given the impression that they have acclimated and are fitting in, which is good for them. Well, then the camera passes over the weeping Maya tree as a few Munoz scamper across its boughs. Omega and Liana enter the Archeum, Pabu's repository of artifacts from all over the galaxy. Liana wishes Omega didn't have to leave. Omega shares the same sentiment, but says that Hunter thinks it's safer for everyone if they do. Liana leads Omega to an alcove where there is an empty space on a shelf between a stone tablet and a metal basin resting on a pedestal. And she asks, "What do you think of this spot?" Omega calls it perfect. So Liana asks her what treasures that she's brought. Placing the satchel on the floor, Omega lifts the flap and takes out Tech's shattered goggles. Staring down at them, she lets out a big sigh. Liana asks Omega if she's sure about leaving them. And Omega tells her emphatically that Pabu was the first place that felt like a home. Then, carefully placing the goggles and Lula, the Tuca doll, on the shelf, she tells Liana, "This way, a piece of us is still here." Now, placing her hand on Omega's shoulder, Liana tells her, "I'll make sure these stay safe until you come back, because you will come back, right?" A few bars of Omega's theme plays, and it's the saddest version of this music that we've heard, as she says, "I hope so," her voice filled with uncertainty. Then Batcher breaks in and lifts the mood by licking Omega's face. She laughs at the hound before she nuzzles against Liana, who gives her a good petting. Well, at the docks, Wrecker takes a break from loading the crates. Gonky honks at him, and Wrecker tells the droid he's not sure there's room enough for all the gear that they've packed. Well, the droid honks something to the effect of, "Maybe we should leave some of it behind." To which Wrecker replies, "Oh yeah? Maybe I should leave you behind." Gonky doesn't like the answer because he bobs up and down, honking even louder now.
Can't leave him behind. He's the
No.
workout equipment.
In the cockpit of the Marauder, a blip pops up on the ship's scanner, and it moves swiftly towards them. We then cut to the CX Dagger sweeping in low over the water just off the island. In the cockpit, the readout on the ship's display says a target tracked. And CX2 flips some controls on the console, and the display changes to a schematic of his ship, and the readout now says system cloaked. Pretty cool to see cloaking technology in Star Wars. We cut to the scanner back on the Havoc Marauder, and the blip disappears. Meanwhile, on the Dagger, CX2 has called up a display of the local terrain, which indicates 4 possible landing areas. Making his selection, one of them blinks red, and he flies the ship into the very cave where just recently Asajj Ventress had hid her ship.
I think they would have, maybe amped up security on that particular cave, post a guy.
The cave that Omega and Batcher like to play in.
Yeah.
Securing the ship with his bicep-mounted controls, CX2 rushes out of the cave and up the island mountain. Meanwhile, in the market, Hunter and Crosshair have gathered the food, and they begin to make their way back to the Havoc Marauder. Then something catches Hunter's attention, and he pauses. Crosshair asks, "What is it?" Hunter watches as a flock of birds scatters into the sky before answering, "I'm not sure, but I don't like it." Taking out his comlink, he radios Omega and tells her it's time to go. At the same time, CX2 has climbed up onto the aqueduct that circles the market and is looking down into the crowd. Pulling down his rangefinder, he zooms in on Hunter and Crosshair. An image of Crosshair in his prison jumpsuit flashes on the readout. Then, panning to the right, he spots Omega and Liana, and now Omega's image flashes up on the display. Pushing one of the buttons on the bicep control, CX2 establishes a comlink with his ship, and Commander Scorch calls out, "Report." Now, the Orabesh says transmitting, which makes sense with the giant satellite dish picture there. CX2 tells him that he has eyes on the target. Well, Scorch tells him to ground them and wait for the division, adding that she must be recovered unharmed. No mistakes this time. Looking down his rangefinder, Omega and Liana have met up with Hunter and Crosshair. CX2 asks the commander, what about the clone she's with? He tells them, if they get in your way, eliminate them. Sliding back from the edge, CX2 pulls out his sniper rifle and slinks away. I don't know why he pulled a gun to climb down, but okay. It was bizarre. He's slinking back, but I'm going to pull out the rifle. So now I got to climb one-handed.
It's like Wolverine pops his claws out. It's time for breakfast. Snicked.
But that's practical. I mean, you could cut your bacon. You could,
guess
eat your toast. All right. Down in the market, the clones stop to chat with Shep. Shep tells them he's sorry to see them leave and that they're all welcome to come back anytime. Hunter shakes his hand and thanks him for everything. Then Omega and Liana hug. After the embrace, Liana says, "I'll see you soon." Then Omega waves, and she and her brothers begin the trek back to the Havoc Marauder. At the docks, Wrecker loads one of the last crates onto the Marauder. Meanwhile, CX2 has made his way down the stone walkway that circles the mountain. Peering down his sniper scope, he spots the Marauder sitting next to the water. Then, using the rifle, he systematically launches 3 explosive devices that magnetically attach themselves to the ship's hull, and then immediately begin counting down.
We've seen those before.
Yeah. Wrecker, now carrying another crate up the boarding ramp, pauses at the sound. Spotting one of the devices blinking at him from the Marauder's wingtip, he drops the crate, grabs Gonky, and makes a run for the water. Ah! Then the ship explodes in a massive ball of fire. The blast catches Wrecker and Gonky, hurling them several meters out into the water. And at this moment, we're not even sure that the two of them haven't just been killed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the explosion creates a panic in the market as citizens begin screaming and crying out. The clones drop the cart and they rush to the edge of the square. And with his macro binoculars, Hunter zooms in on the Marauder, now reduced to a flaming pile of wreckage. As you say, Hank.
Razor Crest, anyone?
So the next HasLab project will be
Havoc Marauder.
Good one. That's funny as hell. But now we see narratively why they took the glasses and the Tuca doll and put them someplace safe. There's really the only things that matter on board.
I'm going to come back to that. Hero ships in sci-fi become characters themselves, and this really did feel like a character death.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
Yep.
I think we can all agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, the Razor Crest. Panning left, he spots Gonky and Wrecker face down in the water. And the big man is face down. With the situation having become suddenly very grim, they all rush to the docks. Now, arriving there is already a throng of people. Now, the clone cadets, Deke, Mox, and Stack, have Wrecker out of the water, and they're tending to him. Omega rushes to her unconscious brother. With a panic in her voice, she gasps and calls out, "Rekka! Rekka!" Batcher licks his face, but he doesn't wake up. Taking charge, Hunter orders Mox and Stack to take Wrecker to Sheps. He then orders Deke to find AZ3 and have him patch him up, and fast. The young clones remark, "On it." Then he and the others leap into action. Crosshair tells Hunter that ships don't just blow up. We've been compromised. Mox puts a comforting hand on Omega's shoulder. Then the sound of repulsor lift engines catch Hunter's attention, and he looks up to see a Venator-class Star Destroyer hovering over the Archeum, its spotlights flooding the market square. LAAT gunships flood out from the ship's ventral hangar and descend on the town. Hunter shouts for everyone to get to cover. The crowd screams in panic, and Omega nuzzles Batcher, maybe for the last time, before following the others. With Wrecker loaded on a hover cart, the cadets carefully move him off the docks. 4 of the gunships land in the market outside the Archeum and deploy their troops. Squads of stormtroopers, each led by a clone commando, fan out into the market. Shep tries to intervene, but the squads march past him as if he's not even there. The panic is at a fevered pitch, and people run in every direction. CX2 walks steadily in the opposite direction of the fleeing crowd, and he links up with one of the squad commanders. He orders the commando to cut off all escape routes and destroy any ships or sea skiffs in sight. As the commando leads his squad away, CX2 looks to the sky as more gunships fill the night sky and begin to circle the island. It gets very tense at this point.
Mm-hmm.
A flight of 3 gunships make a pass over the docks, each one opening fire with their chin-mounted... Did I not advance that? I did not.
Yeah, you're close enough.
There we go. A flight of 3 gunships makes a pass over the docks, and each one opening fire with their chin-mounted cannons, destroying the skiffs that are moored there. Meanwhile, Omega, Batcher, Hunter, and Crosshair run down the narrow streets of Lower Pabu. Omega pauses to watch as more gunships pass over the now smoldering docks. Hunter puts a hand on her shoulder, and they duck in between 2 houses. Guilt-ridden, Omega blurts out that the Empire's attack is her fault. Hunter kneels down face to face with her and says it's the Empire's fault, not hers, and she has to stay focused. Crosshair's comlink chimes, and he relates that the Empire is destroying all means of escape and are jamming comms. He suggests they steal one of the gunships and use it to get far enough away from the attack so that they can contact Echo. Hunter says he'll handle it, and he orders the others to get to Sheps and wait there with Wrecker until he signals for them.
It worked last time. Why wouldn't it work again?
Well, you know. Outside the Archeum, CX2 stands in front of a formation of stormtroopers. He orders them to lock down the town and to search every domicile until Omega is found. Just then, Shep storms up, his finger leveled at CX2. What do you think you're doing? CX2 asks who he is, and Shep informs him that he's the mayor. Shep protests that the Empire has opened fire on the town and its people without provocation or warning, and he asks under what pretense they're attacking. Holding up a holopuck, he shows Shep an image of Omega and tells her they're here to collect the fugitive that he's been harboring. Shep shouts, "You can't just barge in here," but he's cut off by CX2, who tells him, "I've barely done anything yet." Incensed, Shep yells at CX2 about how they've destroyed the docks and their fishing boats, their very livelihoods. Coldly, CX2 says he's merely cut off the target's means of escape, but he could do much worse. With finality, CX2 says he knows the girl is here, and until she's turned over to him, the island will burn. CX2 begins to walk away, and Shep tries to get at him, but he's quickly restrained by a stormtrooper and then escorted away. All right, this is probably a good time to have that conversation now. I was we in our private chat, which you guys obviously are not privy to, but we've talked about this, how much I have been on board with this character as being tech, and right down to the every time he talks, not every time, but every once in a while, that little British
slip
will come through. But it's really fluctuated, and they've really, really amped it up in this episode, just how much his voice has fluctuates in the episode. Mm-hmm. He's far less British this episode. And admittedly, I agree with you, Hank, especially in this episode. Yeah. He sounds an awful lot like Crosshair in this episode. So there was some fan chatter earlier this week about the choice of wording that he uses in this episode when he's addressing the stormtroopers. People are saying that the phrase search every domicile is very similar to text line from season 2, the episode Ruins of War, when he says to Romar Adel, "I'm registering a heat source 200 meters west of here. I suspect it is your domicile." It could be nothing,
but it could be something.
But it could be something. Mm-hmm. Now, that being said, I have come to the conclusion, or I shouldn't say conclusion, I have come to terms that maybe just maybe CX2 is a recombinant clone of both Tech and Crosshair's DNA. And with that in mind, I also think that CX2 is the prototype for whatever troop type that Hemlock was looking at in Identity Crisis. And I do ask, is that trooper the progenitor of the Death Trooper? Now, it also makes me wonder. And this is part of my coming to terms with things. The goggles and the doll, placing them in the Archeum. Was placing Tech's goggles there a symbolic way of letting us let go and say goodbye to the character?
He could genuinely be dead.
That's what I mean.
It's kind of been my standpoint that CX was somehow closely linked
Closer.
to Crosshair. Even to the point where in my head I was like, is the Crosshair that's with the batch the real Crosshair?
The real Crosshair. Well, they'd have to
And I thought,
replicate all the scarring.
right, exactly. So
Yeah,
I started
yeah.
thinking about that stuff too. But
I am willing to accept and believe that this guy is a clone, but he is both DNA into one. And I say that, did I put it in my notes? I was supposed to put it in my notes. All right. I will say that from the perspective of just this episode alone, how quickly he was able to circumvent the security protocols in Fee's ship. That's very much a Tech skill.
It's very a Tech thing, but also
his marksmanship in this is
like,
just so nuts.
And throughout our experience with that mysterious character, his main thing has been pulling off crazy shots where we're like, oh, only Crosshair can do that.
Yeah.
Now, if Tech, maybe Tech is our Ultraman character that's still in stasis.
Oh, you know what? I'm not. Andy, you said it to me this week as well. Star Wars is always been about hope. Hope has been a major recurrent theme. Yeah. And so, yes, the part of me still hopes that Tech is alive and that he will come back. But even after that, the episode where they were fighting in the river, like you made your choice. You could have been one of us. Like that doesn't change if this is in fact a combination of the genetic soup of the two of them, right? Like if that person's going to have
any of these characters live, they have major explaining to do for the future. Honestly, exactly. I hate to say it, but it's so much cleaner if they just kill everybody like Rogue One.
So let me close this off then, because I'm talking about the goggles, right? If the goggles, let's presume that yes, the goggles are a symbolic way of letting the character go, of saying goodbye, because we didn't get to say goodbye. He just fell away and they had to run because they were literally on the run. Yeah. We haven't really on the nose dealt with he's gone. We've alluded to it. They've had this moment of silence where everybody looks at the floor for a second, but nobody's come out and openly weep for this guy. Nobody's had any emotion about it whatsoever. It feels funerary placing the goggles in this place of reverence. If that is the case, I have to say, what does that bode for Wrecker? Because Lula the Tuca doll, if you all remember, belonged to Wrecker before he gave it to Omega.
Yeah.
So if this is our way of saying goodbye to Tech, I mean, I know I'm getting ahead of myself here. They say that his vitals are stable and he groans by the end of the episode, but that doesn't mean that he's out of the woods.
True.
So,
well, here's a counterpoint for you.
Sure.
We all know that the Empire is space Nazis.
Yes.
And Nazi Germany, they went through and they pillaged Europe as they went, right?
Yeah.
Well, here you have the Archeum, right? A temple full of treasures. What's to say that, after event happens, the other troopers don't just go in and raid the whole thing, take everything.
Anything that's worth anything.
Just everything in general, take it back, and then at some point, Clone X is going to be going through those treasures and be like, oh, goggles.
And
why do I know these?
Have a little come to Jeebus moment.
Yeah.
That's possible too. That's an interesting thought. Actually, I like that idea, to be honest.
Or, picks up the Tuca doll first and like, this is familiar, and then the goggles and like, oh.
Yeah. When I was like browbeating that this is Tech, I believed that was going to happen, that there would be this moment come face to face where Tech, you have to remember it's us. And that was going to be the thing. But that actually, I feel like that is a better a better angle to have him come to it on his own.
And not to burst your record bubble, but we know for sure he is up fighting and good to go in the episode Juggernaut coming up, based on the original trailer.
That's right. Not to talk about something else, but to borrow a page from last week's episode of X-Men 97 with Madeline Pryor. Madeline Pryor has all of the memories of Jean Grey. What's to say that this clone doesn't have all of the memories of the recombinant DNA that he's potentially made from?
True.
So there is that, maybe this is a fresh new character who is a combination of one, both, or neither.
Tech hair.
And has a flip because, hey, those memories, that still resonates something inside of me. Just another possibility.
Cross tech or tech hair?
Cross.
Hortech.
Tech horror.
Wait. Hopefully everybody who's watching gets the reference that was my flub. They're all like, what? What did they just say? All right. I'm sorry to spend so much time on that, but I needed to get that out.
It's a mystery that needs answered.
It's Crosshair.
We're gonna get an answer. I know.
I really hope.
We're gonna
get left if they don't.
I just hope that they don't do something stupid.
I'm like a strongly worded letter.
The helmet comes open and there's a stupid tattoo there. They don't do that. Don't do that. That would just be dumb.
It's how
Please don't do that. Yeah. All right. All over town, squads of troopers move door to door, ousting residents from their homes as they search for Omega. Crosshair leads Omega and Batcher up a set of curved stairs, but then quickly drops back when a squad of troopers moves near them. One of the troopers has Miss Gaia, and he shoves her towards a wall, a gesture that Batcher clearly doesn't like because she charges up the stairs and attacks the squad.
I was super worried here.
Yeah, I'm like, oh no.
I thought they're going to old Yeller the dog.
Do not shoot the dog. Don't
really
John
mad.
Wick the dog. Jesus.
I was really mad.
It was bad enough. We're kidnapping babies. Why not shoot the dog?
Well,
Bastards.
One of the troopers fires at her, but misses. It's close enough for Batcher, though, that she still runs away, and a pair of troopers chase after her. Crosshair puts a hand on Omega's shoulder and tells her that Batcher can handle herself. And then the two of them dash down a dark alley, and they climb up onto Shep's balcony. Now, inside the house, Liana and AZ3 are gathered near the unconscious Wrecker, who's now laid out on what looks to be a couch. Fearful, Liana says her father told her to hide here before running over and hugging Omega. Liana says that she's very scared, and Omega cannot apologize enough. Asking how Wrecker is doing, AZ3 tells them that although he remains unconscious, his vital signs are stable, and almost on cue, Wrecker lets out a groan. What sounds like more explosions suddenly gets everyone's attention, and they all rush to the edge of the balcony just as 3 more gunships pass by. Looking down over the balcony, they watch as a squad of stormtroopers roughs up a couple of citizens. One of the troopers demands to see identification as he tosses a man to the ground, and then he orders the others to search the property. On a level below that, another squad marches in formation, each one of them carrying a flamethrower. Omega looks up at Crosshair with a worried look. Hunter finally reaches the empty market, and he quietly makes his way between the stalls. Encountering a lone stormtrooper, he quickly subdues the soldier and drags him behind a stall before another trooper walks past. And as luck would have it, that trooper's comm chimes and he's called away, just as another gunship comes in and offloads another squad. Moving quickly, Hunter tries to get around the ship, but he runs into another trooper. Now, they struggle for a moment, and the trooper lets off a wild shot, but it's enough to get the attention of the nearby squad that happens to be guarding Shep and some other citizens, and they run to help. Hunter is able to overcome the trooper, but then the squad is practically on top of him, and they open fire. Hunter grabs a rolling cart, which, by the way, asset reuse, that is the ice cream cart from earlier in the episode.
Nice.
And he uses it for cover as he runs toward the gunship that is now lifting off.
At least it's well insulated.
That's true.
Like
Blaster fire.
The gong from Temple of Dune.
Yeah. Blaster fire erupts off the cart, but it holds. Shoving the cart ahead of him, Hunter leaps up on top of it, and he uses it as a vault to jump up into the gunship. Hunter pulls himself up into the crew compartment, surprising two stormtroopers that still happen to be aboard. I don't know why they didn't get off, but hey.
Get out there and do your job.
He quickly grabs the nearest one by the ankle and he drags him out into the open void. Ah! Jumping to his feet, Hunter grabs two of the subway-style handles on the roof of the compartment and he uses them to deliver a huge swinging roundhouse to the other trooper's head. He quickly follows that up with a series of short elbow strikes before taking the trooper down with an armbar. And now, with the stormtrooper flat out on his back, Hunter is able to easily scoop him up and drop him out the other side of the ship. Whee! The pilot, glancing out the cockpit, notices Hunter standing in the open crew compartment and he banks the ship hard left in hopes of shaking him out. But Hunter manages to catch the roof handles and holds on. From ship's balcony, Omega sees the gunship passing overhead, rocking violently back and forth. And pointing at it, she asks Crosshair, "Is that Hunter?" His answer is a plain, uh-huh. Not like, yeah, that's him, just, uh-huh. Almost like he's uneasy.
Mm-hmm.
But they aren't the only ones that notice, as CX-2 and a squad of troopers also see what's happening. In the cockpit of the gunship, an alarm blares as the pilot declares that his ship has been compromised and he can't shake him. Pulling up his rifle, CX-2 takes aim at the ship, but not at Hunter. Instead, he shoots the pilot through the canopy glass, killing him instantly and sending the gunship into a spinning dive towards the
That
ocean.
shot again.
Yeah, that's crazy level of marksmanship.
Yeah.
Omega asks, sorry, what?
Shooting their own? Like,
oh, yeah.
Why wouldn't you say, I'm compromised, I'm coming in, be ready?
Well,
instead of, let's kill one of our own troops and blow up one of our own ships.
I
gotta
think
be honest.
Go ahead, Hank.
Well, my first time watching it, I kind of looked away for a split second, looked up, and I thought that Crosshair had actually shot the pilot.
Oh, really?
So that Hunter could, you know what I mean? Like,
get the controls.
So
I kind of wondered if
took me a
that was actually
split
going to
second
happen
to
as well.
realize.
Yeah. Omega gasps in shock as the ship spirals downward. Hunter holds on for a few rotations before letting go and falling into the water, the ship nearly landing on top of him. Omega asks Crosshair if he can see Hunter, then taking out his macro binoculars, he scans the water. Hunter bobs to the surface and immediately begins to swim to the shore. Crosshair tells her he's fine, but then more stormtroopers approach from the levels above, and he adds that right now Hunter is safer than they are, and they duck back inside Shep's place before they're spotted. Now, once inside, Omega asks, "What do we do? Troopers will be here soon." Crosshair tells her that Hunter would want them to stick to the plan, but Omega is frustrated, and it comes through her voice when she says, "There's no hiding, Crosshair. The Empire knows I'm here. They won't stop searching until they find me." Then her tone turns more serious as she sighs. "Our only choice is to let the Empire capture me." Shocked by the idea, Crosshair balks, "What?" With a sweeping gesture towards their unconscious brother, Omega tells Crosshair, "Look at what they've already done," adding that she can't let the people suffer any more because of her. Crosshair stutters a bit. "You'll be taken back to Tantus." But that is precisely the point. Having tried and failed to find the coordinates to the secret facility, this is their chance to finally rescue the other imprisoned clones. Holding up her comlink, Omega says if she keeps it on her, Crosshair can track her back to Tantus. But Crosshair refutes the idea, knowing that the Imperials would search her and no doubt find the device, saying it won't work. Well, she tells him to shoot a secondary tracking device onto the ship that they put her on. Crosshair says there are just too many unknown variables, and it's not a viable plan. But Omega shoots him down with, "It's all we've got, and it's my choice." Crosshair begins to plead, "Omega," but she cuts him off. "Focus on the bigger mission, Crosshair. I'm just a small part of it." His eyes narrow as he considers what she just said. Some of the most emoting we've seen from Crosshair ever.
Well, she's gotten through. She's broken into his icy heart.
I think this is maybe in part sort of an addendum to the meditation stuff that he's been doing.
Does she really think though? Like, I find this kind of silly. And it's narrative. I get it. They put her back in to rescue the children at the same time, get Carr out, and possibly set up a standoff for the end. But so narratively, I understand it. But does she really think the Empire's not just going to like she's going to surrender and they're going to like fix all the boats and rebuild all the
Yeah,
buildings.
No,
They're
but
not
I
just going to
mean,
wipe this island out anyway.
I think on some
And
level
she's
she
putting
thinks.
everybody in terrible, terrible, terrible danger by doing this.
I think on some level she thinks if she turns herself in, they'll go
leave.
away. Yeah.
Okay, we got
I
one.
guess it's the night. Yeah,
It's not going to undo the damage that's already done, but hopefully they'll just leave it at that and go away.
Yeah, we know that's not going to happen. But I
No.
guess I agree that her plan is like to, if they can track her back. It's very thin, and I mean Crosshair says it, so it's I get it.
We'll get to it. We're getting there soon, but there has to be another avenue in light of what happens in this episode. Yeah, we'll get to
Gotta
it.
put it in there deep, Morty.
Yeah.
All the way up.
All right. As the stormtroopers continue to search the island, citizens are rounded up and are made to sit on a winding stone staircase. As one more home is emptied, a trooper steps up to the door armed with a flamethrower, its pilot light glowing blue. But just as he's about to unleash a gout of fire, a voice calls out, "Stop!" CX2 and the other troopers turn to look. Omega stands on a nearby platform. "I surrender," she says. CX2 tells one of the clone commandos next to him, "Stay alert. I neutralized the other 2 clones with her, but not the third." He approaches her with 2 stormtroopers, and Omega holds out her hands to be cuffed. "Take me and leave the island alone. The people here are innocent." Raising the barrel of his rifle to a high port, CX2 snaps a pair of binders on Omega's wrists as he tells her, "Then you never should have come here in the first place." He then orders that she be scanned for tracking devices. A stormtrooper steps up and passes a scanning device over her body, stopping when the indicator flashes red. CX2 demands that she hand over the device, so Omega removes the comlink from her pocket and drops it in his hand. The scanner. Talking about asset reuse. We haven't seen this one in a while, but anybody remember where we saw this before?
Can't say I do.
The scanner is a reuse of Tech's pad that Omega studied with all the plans on it.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Standard issue.
I would think so, yeah. From a higher balcony, Crosshair watches as CX2 and his troops take her away. Then, rushing through the alleyways, dodging stormtroopers along the way, he races up the stairs towards Upper Pabu. Meanwhile, Hunter, having swam all the way from the crash site, drags himself up onto the beach. He throws off his helmet and he drops to his knees to catch his breath. But suddenly he's alerted to something and leaps back to his feet, pistol in hand. Batcher climbs up onto the rocks in front of him. The Lurka Hound is excited to see him, and she rushes over, jumping up and nuzzling him. Hunter takes a quick look up at the city before donning his helmet, and the 2 of them begin the long trek back to town. That's a long climb up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, CX2 and his troops march Omega down through the burning docks. The clone assassin presses one of his bicep controls, and the CX dagger lifts off from the cave and it flies to the dock, landing in front of them. The gangway drops, and the 2 of them begin to board. Omega stops to look back at Pabu, but CX2 pushes her forward up the stairs. Partway up the perimeter staircase, Crosshair stops and he props up his rifle on the wall in a supported shooting position. He takes aim at the dagger, but no sooner does he get the ship in his sights, a squad of stormtroopers spot him and begin opening fire. Now, dodging fire from the 2 troopers above him on the stairs, he fires off a quick suppressive volley before tucking up against the wall. But then he's surprised when 2 more troopers round the corner, coming off the staircase onto the same level that he's on. Well, they open fire as well. Fortunately, the conscript's aim is typical for stormtroopers, and they miss. Crosshair shoots one of them before charging the other and knocking him out with a butt stroke from his sniper rifle. On board the dagger, Omega slumps to the floor and leans up against the wall while CX2 takes his seat in the cockpit. From the bottom of the staircase, Crosshair quickly shoots the 2 troopers that he just suppressed, and then he rushes back to the wall. With his hands on the controls, CX2 slides the dagger's throttle forward and the ship begins to move. Pardon me. Still on the run, Crosshair aims down his scope at the dagger and fires off a tracking device. But the dagger accelerates out of its path and the device falls uselessly into the ocean. And even though Crosshair is wearing his helmet, it's not hard to imagine the heartbroken look on his face at having just failed when it counted the most. Standing there, all he can do is watch as the dagger's glowing red engines fade out through the clouds. He's got to be harboring some guilt at this point. As the dagger pulls away from the planet, CX2 activates his comms and he sends a brief message. Target acquired, returning to base. In the back of the ship, Omega takes off her helmet and closes her eyes. She takes a deep breath in and she holds it for a few seconds. Then, opening her eyes, she exhales as she stares straight ahead. The calm look on her face, along with the accompanying music, would suggest that she has a steely resolve for what's about to come next. Cut to space, where the CX dagger spools up its hyperdrive and makes the jump to hyperspace. Cut to black. But wait! What's interesting here is the music keeps playing. The same music, the do steely resolve music keeps playing over the end credits instead of cutting to the usual end credit track.
Yeah.
It definitely leaves you with a sense of how serious things are.
I kind of got the impression that there's a plan C.
Well, this is it. Like the look on her face, that whole
That's
like
enough.
she does.
Don't scan her any further.
Yeah.
We found the
One
one.
and done.
That's right. We found one.
Chest height. Don't scan the other 2/3 of her. It'll be fine.
The whole, and then just the steel, like we've seen that before in other movies. We saw it. Think of Avatar, Jake Sully at the end of Avatar, the eyes open, boom. It's that like, oh, shit's about to get real. And like, I feel like this is that trope being used again.
I'll be super upset if she didn't hoop it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, and that is
otherwise we're back exactly where we just wasted 11 episodes on entertainment.
You're right. But that's okay.
No, I get it.
It is okay, but you are right. Like, where are we next week if there isn't a backup?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
So there are, when I analyze it logically, there are differences, yes.
Yeah.
But we put absolutely everybody in jeopardy again. Her idea was always to try to get all the clones out, sure, but now we're going to get all the Jedi younglings out, or the Force using younglings
the
out.
Force sensitive.
We do have a sympathetic car on board now, seemingly.
Yeah.
And
they are going to use her to find Tantus. That much is true.
And now she's got the highest level clearance for the facility because she can enter the vault. So,
but at the same time, she's so integral to Pelt, and she can't know this, but the last place you want to be is back where you can be the catalyst for creating this horrible thing that's going to, right?
Looks like we need another Pershing. To borrow the need another Timmy line. I don't even know. I was so like out of my wits by the end of this episode. Like, what now? I know from her expression that there's a, at least I hope there's a, like I said, a backup to the backup.
Right.
But I don't even have a wild guess at what it is.
The second column stuck in her boot.
Right.
It just seems so. Yeah.
Lazy.
Yeah. It is.
That's why she's relaxing.
If that's the case, if there is another device on her,
mm-hmm.
I feel like, and I rarely say that the writing is lazy.
Mm-hmm.
That may be a case of lazy writing if that's in fact how they resolve that.
Well, suppose the ship is now on autopilot to Tantus.
Yeah.
What if they were only scanning for tracking devices? And really in her back pocket, she's got a little blaster. So all she needs to do is sneak up in that cockpit.
Well, her personal weapon is not exactly little.
No.
Certainly.
I wouldn't think it would be the energy bow.
The new crossbow.
No.
I don't think so, yeah. I don't know. That would be out of character for her to just try to murder somebody, because I think her thing would be try to
stun.
That's true.
She wouldn't kill.
She would try to redeem him. She would try to talk to him first.
Right.
You don't have to do this.
Stun him, tie him up.
Why are you doing this? You're alone just like me.
Exactly.
So we're going to save that one for Emma.
Oh, no.
Emery's already there.
Emery is obviously the linchpin to what happens when we get to.
This is the
Tannis,
biggest
but
difference, right? She's got unprecedented like freedom around there. She's
yeah,
going to
like
She's gonna find out some stuff.
she's going to get killed when Hemlock
Well,
catches her.
yeah. Well, Scorch is probably going to catch her with the non stun setting of his.
I told you they were specimens.
Yeah. That guy's gone from fan fave to like I want to shoot him in the head.
Yeah, so much for Delta Squad.
Yeah.
Screw you, Squad.
They probably did that like as a screw you, we'll take the leader. We'll take
Oh,
the
yeah.
old hunter and we'll make him
Bad hunter.
Why did you just Ryan Johnson my character?
yeah, totally.
Well, I know how the next episode's gonna open.
Next week we're opening. What's the single drop next week? And it is.
Well,
I didn't write it down.
I
What was it
didn't
called?
either, but
No, you did. You said it was Juggernaut. Juggernaut's next week's episode.
Is it next week?
Yeah, I believe it is. Let me
But
just.
either way, it's gonna open with Fee rolling up on the island saying, "What the hell just happened?
what did you do?
What did you do to my paradise?
That's entirely possible.
Where's all my antiquities?"
Oh, I hope not. The Bad Batch.
I don't picture the Empire just leaving though. Like
No, I
that's
figured
thin writing too. If that happened, like
they're gonna
with-
raise the place.
they're the United States. They leave a base everywhere they go.
Yeah. Yes, next week. Next week
It
is
is
Juggernaut, and then Into the Breach the following week. And that's all that this one is. Is this the official list?
I believe there's only 2 more after that.
I'll just get it right from the Wookiee. The
There.
Wookiee would tell me. Did I?
Yeah,
did.
4 episodes.
Oh, okay.
total
Juggernaut
left.
Breach. Yeah. Yeah. Juggernaut, Into the Breach, Flash Strike, and the cavalry has arrived.
Unless it's bad cavalry.
Echo.
Uh,
And
Echo
it's
and Rex.
it's Governor Tarkin.
Seriously,
Oh,
really.
Jesus.
I've come to claim your base.
What is wrong with you?
And that'll probably be Flash Strike.
Well, Flash
That's
Strike will be
awful.
them going in and rolling over Tantus.
I thought maybe Flash Strike would be Tarkin saying, "I told you to be careful." All right. No, all kidding aside, all kidding aside, yeah, Juggernaut is next week's episode.
Well, this week's episode technically coming up in a few short days.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. The next episode. I keep thinking we're in the same week because my week hinges Sunday to Sunday.
Exactly.
Juggernaut. Do you think that's in the verb sense or in the noun sense?
Based on the vehicle that they're driving across that mountainside, I think it's in like the literal sense.
Possibly.
What,
Yeah.
what did we call the
Wasn't the clone turbo
In the
tank also referred to as a Juggernaut?
Yeah.
back in the Mandalorian when they were rolling through with the explosive stuff in those giant
Oh yeah.
which
Which
not juggernauts as well?
they had the same wheels as the turbo tank.
Yeah.
The clone turbo tank.
'Cause I think it's one of those that they're driving.
I think that's what they call them. Clone turbo
Juggernaut.
tank.
Oh, it's a juggernaut.
The HAVWA6 Juggernaut is the clone turbo tank.
There you go.
So I mean, are we gonna get
I
everybody
believe-
out in a Juggernaut and drive it away?
That's
I
not
believe
what
they're gonna go from somewhere.
that's
What's
not
that?
what Rex and the boys have on that's
No,
that's an
they've got a
ATTE,
ATTE.
ATTE, yeah.
ATTE, yeah.
Hmm.
All-terrain
I'm the
tactical
juggernaut, bitch.
tactical enforcer. That's right. Yeah, that's what that is.
Don't you know who I am?
Thank God Vinnie Jones said no. I'm 60 fucking years old. Leave me alone. All right. So, wow. Double drop this week. I have to say, for the shortest episode of the season, it definitely was the most exciting.
Better, much better.
Very much. Any
Back on track.
any that I had was removed during this episode, and now I am fully invested for what's to come next, and I hope that we're on the up. I hope we continue that way,
Yeah.
right to the end, baby.
Mm.
I don't
can't-
need another dip.
No, I can't see it, but I couldn't see any day. Like when you say this is the last season, there's 15 to go. It's like I expect you lit a wick. And it's-
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. The fuse is burning. Not this like
Yeah.
Have the lighter next
And now,
on standby. It's about to go out.
and now Omega when she was 2 months old.
Yeah. Oh my God. Did you guys want to take a minute and talk about stuff we saw on the Tales of the Jedi? So good, right?
Wow.
Mhm.
All right,
Star Wars porn.
Let me just pull up. I'm gonna bring this up here. I'm gonna look. You guys keep talking while I find the thing. I gotta find
Tales of the Empire.
the thing.
Man, when you I mean, you broke that for I don't know, probably
Dude,
for Andy too.
it happened, and then
You
suddenly
were
I was
right on
like,
it because
"Did
you were on
guys
the
see this?"
announcement and then trailer, boom, and you even texted me. I was at work and you were like,
I know. I knew you
I
weren't
get
paying
those a
attention to the
lot
group
quicker
chat.
than the messenger.
I knew you weren't paying attention to the group chat, so I'm like, I'm texting you. I know that's an interruption, but you must look at this.
Yeah. Oh, and I did right then and
Did you
there,
see
actually.
the side happenings because of it, based on the poster alone. How we get
I
Morgan
did not.
Elsbeth.
Oh yeah, so I was gonna pull
Her
that up here.
action figure has spiked in price.
Oh, I saw that. It's
like
gone to like
crazy.
80 some bucks or
Mm.
something. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Why is that not? Oh, I know why. Stop doing that.
Oh.
Just do. Oh, because I'm trying to add it to videos. Oh
Yeah,
my
you don't want
gosh. No wonder it's
Just
not
an
working.
overlay.
That's the one
Just
I
an
want.
overlay.
Let's do this. Let's bring this up. We got the first promotional image this week for Star Wars Tales of the Empire, which is dropping on Disney Plus on Star Wars Day, May the 4th. That's just a few weeks away, right after the Bad Batch. That's going to be a real busy week for us. I've already said, I've said this in our group chat. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we have to review this.
Mhm.
We have to review this. I just thought, God, and you said it, Hank. You said, and I agree with you, more excited about this than any other Star Wars project
hell
in
yeah.
active development.
Hell yeah.
Well, based on Tales of the Jedi alone, how much backstory and info that gave us.
Yeah.
Now we're getting it from the other perspective.
And I don't think it'll be like, I mean, it was a lot of work for us last time, but I think that we will probably get what we got last time, which is the entire season of shorts airing
All at one
once,
time.
and then we will figure it out.
We'll break them up.
Divide it into
Yeah.
3 and do
And
it
then
all
we'll
in
do
one
it that way.
episode.
Yeah. I just want to let's I put this up here. That promotional image came out, and then the trailer came out like right after it.
Mhm.
And I was already working at deciphering the poster when the trailer came out, which was a boon because it helped me identify at least one character in it. So let's take a look at that and just see what we're getting in this. Wow. Clearly, they're saying that it's 2 stories. Obviously, one is Morgan Elsbeth and her service to Thrawn and how she becomes so embroiled with him, which is going to take us back to Corvus because they're right there in the middle is that big bell, the front gate of her
Right.
fortress.
Yep.
Well, in the trailer, she's also sporting the Beskar spear as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the second story, I think, is the one that maybe I know I'm a little more interested in is the continuation of Barriss Offee's story. Now we got a hint in one of Grogu's flashbacks. They passed her quarters in the Jedi Temple, and that's the last hint of Barriss Offee that we've even seen.
Mhm.
But she is back. She is back in a big way, and she's being recruited to the Inquisitorius, which we had speculated Marok could have been. We actually had her on the list for Marok, who is also in the trailer and in the poster. So, I mean, I'm beside myself with how much is happening in this. Now, I couldn't tell. Was that Jason Isaacs in the trailer as the Grand Inquisitor?
I don't know for sure.
Or is it the new fella?
I was too blown away by all the stuff happening that I didn't even think.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, I put up the wrong image. This is the one that has like unknown.
Right.
But that's not the most accurate one that I have. I have another one. Oh, stop doing that. Ding. Let's try this one. Nope, that's still not it. Wow. What am I doing here?
Well, 12 is a young Elsbeth, yeah?
2 is Morgan Elsbeth. 12,
but-
I believe, is the when there's the line in the trailer where she says my world was burning for whatever since I was young.
Right.
Mhm.
I believe that is that character that was laying on the ground.
Oh,
because we don't see Morgan Elsbeth get face
I got
tattoos until
yeah.
Ahsoka.
I just got the picture. Oh, maybe. I thought that was her younger, but that was just makeup.
I had wondered if 11 and 12 were connected, but then it turns out that 11 is actually Wing.
100%.
Wing, the guy who ends up becoming the mayor
And I was going
of the town.
I was going along with every Asian character in Star Wars in the chat. How
That's right.
racist is this guy?
I did put this. I posted this one on our social media.
Oh, it's Carson Teva.
It could be. I had
It's
every
Nine
Asian.
Numb.
I had every Asian character that I could think of in there. We had Carson Teva, we had Sato, and we had the guy that runs the Colossus in Star Wars Resistance
Right.
up there.
Yeah.
Like, and only one of these is an ex-Imperial. I'm
It's
like,
the guy from
maybe
Conja Club.
yeah. So it looks like we're gonna get more with the crow-faced Inquisitor that Ahsoka had fought.
Interestingly enough, that means that Morgan Elsbeth has been on said planet.
Oh, she's been there.
Corpus.
Yeah, she's been in the Corpus for
For
a long
years.
time. Yeah. It's cool that we see her younger, and we see her in the red, the traditional Night Sister.
Bro, she's fighting
garb.
Grievous.
Yeah, with the sickle, the flaming sickles,
Bro,
which I think looks so cool.
fighting Grievous.
Listen, I've said this from the beginning that the Tartakovsky version of Grievous is far more terrifying than what we've ever got in the movies and in the Clone Wars. This is an opportunity to turn Grievous into the killing machine that he should have been, and I hope they do.
Well, that the destruction of Dathomir was all off camera, right?
Yeah.
And what's interesting, I find too, is that so Morgan Elsbeth, in terms of Dooku ordering the destruction of Dathomir,
Yeah.
her proximity to the character of Dooku, having been Tales of the Jedi, and then Barriss Offee's obvious connection to Ahsoka from Tales of the Jedi. So I think, what I really hope is we just got in that trailer was the end game of Barriss Offee, but I wouldn't mind seeing, to make it hurt more, if you will, to see her very young. And, I guess we do know that character though, more than we knew sort of Dooku.
I think so. I mean, certainly from a visual language, we've seen lots of her. We did see lots of Dooku in the earlier seasons of Clone Wars, though.
You look at that image of her there, there's one thing that says to me, and that's like there's a tremendous amount of regret on her face.
So? You think so? I don't know. Hard to say. Maybe. I just think it's, that sort of, it almost looks poker face to me, I'm really curious though. Number 13, there's an interesting thing going on there. I don't know if that's a Night Sister, like a great.
I zoomed in on it. And I thought it might have been Ahsoka with her hood up.
When I looked at it, I pulled it up, I put it into Canva, and I stretched
Great
it
Mother.
out.
It's on that side, so it could be the Great Mother.
When you stretch it out, I'm like, why is Darth Revan in this picture? But it's so blurry. Like, of course, it's not Revan, but still, I'm like, well, it's got a weird look, and it's
Pablo the Lesser.
I don't know if that's some kind of portal that they're opening, standing in, or some kind of energy field. Definitely some energy thing in front of them. I don't know what it is, but I sure do want to find out.
I mean, this is the battle that Talzin dies at, right?
Yeah, they're all, yeah. That's so true. Yeah. I like the contrast between the Venators and the ISD above it. That definitely shows a passage of time. That's the one thing I've been talking about the whole time that we've been reviewing the Bad Batch, is that we haven't really seen more of the transition from Clone War era technology to Imperial era. So that I hope we see a little bit more of. Thrawn is not a Grand Admiral in this. He's still wearing a gray fleet uniform. So that's kind of cool. That was another thing from this week's episode of the Bad Batch, by the way, that
Tarkin.
When they dumped a Venator over top of Pabu, and I'm like, oh, it's the Chimera over the fortress in Ahsoka.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, there's an opportunity there. You could have had that a Victory class Star Destroyer, an Imperial class Star Destroyer, but I get it. Venator, it's easy. We've already got the assets for it.
We're so super. We're like 2 years though since.
Well, I mean, we've had stormtroopers pop up, conscript stormtroopers in months.
That's true.
Within months of the end of the war. So
funky helmets.
I mean,
Mhm.
I've looked at the canon entries for both the Victory and the ISD, and the Victory class Star Destroyer was, according canonically, was in service during the Clone War.
Yeah.
So conceivably, they already exist.
It'd be just a paint job, yeah.
No, they'd be totally different. They'd be
No, but I mean, like you would think it would.
oh yeah. They'd be repainted to the
like the
battleship
Victory
blade.
class, right?
Yeah. Instead of the white and
White
the
and red.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, that was super fun to hang out with you guys again and chew on a couple episodes of one of our favorite shows.
Mhm.
And I can't wait to do this again next week with Juggernaut. Of course, if you want to come back and see us on Tuesday night, Andy and I will be here for sure. We'll be doing another dose of random fandom, bringing you some more news of the weird in entertainment and pop culture. And there's some good ones this week, I should say.
Mhm.
So looking forward to doing that. Come hang out with us if you like. And if not, we'll see you back here next Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern, for the next episode of the Fan Batch, where we will be here at the same batch time, same batch channel. As always, everybody, whatever your thing is, fan on, everybody. And for Fandom Power, my name is Wes.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Hank.
We will see you on the next one. Bye for now, everybody.
Roll credits.